Hello everyone, my name is Gabriel and I welcome you today to the class which I affectionately call Tarot the Exodus. Thank you so much for dropping by and I hope you enjoy the class. I just want to give a quick introduction as to who I am personally so you can get an idea of where I came from and how I got into tarot. Well, first and foremost, I just turned 45 years old recently. I'm a single father of two amazing, beautiful children whom I love so dearly. And it's being on this journey on my own has really put a lot of things into a very different perspective. I didn't expect on getting divorced, but then again, I also didn't expect for certain people to just not be as committed. Let me just put it that way to the cause. And well, with that, this journey has really led me on a lot of self reflection, a lot of self discovery. And along those lines, I discovered how to really hone in on tarot and perhaps even share with the world, which I now manage to do through this YouTube channel. My career specifically started a long time ago. What I call the energetic journey, it started a long time ago. I've been very curious about horoscopes and astrology and all sorts of metaphysical type of events, synchronicities. People call them coincidences and things of that nature. I've been an avid believer that we're all interconnected through a major energy source. Now, a lot of religions tend to refer to this energy source as God or some other form of spiritual entity, and that's great. My definition of that is just that it's all energy. This is the way that I see it, down to the smallest thought that we can have, and every single thought that we can have can manifest into whatever it is that we really want. And that's where engineering comes in, the way that I see this. The engineering is the manifestation of our own creativity, our own ideas. Things like this video right here that I'm recording right now for you, and you're watching on something called YouTube and on the internet. Those are all manifestations of energy that we've all put together as a collective of humanity and engineers just cracking their brains together and really making this work for humanity. And one thing that I like to draw from engineering, again, it's really just focused on science, on facts, on things that are just very mathematically oriented. It's all about the exact sciences. But the way that I see energy is it surpasses more than just what we can rationalize. And what I mean by that is there are many more energies out there that are inexplicable to us. Like, for example, the concept of chaos and why things happen. To this day, scientists still haven't been able to prove the existence as to why the Big Bang even started. If you believe in the Big Bang, the start of the universe, they've been able to formalize getting a lot of different data points with billions and billions of different particles from colliding protons together through the Hadron Collider. But outside of that, folks, there's a lot more energy that we still don't understand. There's a lot of energy out there that is still unfathomable to us. Things that are like ghost particles that we are subject to every single day, yet we can't record, we can't measure at all. They're so sensitive and so small that we just don't have the technology to really feel what those ghost particles are. Yet, then again, we're being bombarded by them on a daily basis. They just navigate straight through our bodies, straight through the Earth's crust, straight through our solar system. Those are all facts that have been discovered through science. Yet there's a lot of inexplicability to it as to why it happens, why particular particles act in certain ways. And well, this is what inspired me to jump into tarot all in. I treat tarot as almost like a scientific tool of unknown energies, and that energy is the energy of things that we are all quantum entangled to, the way that I see things. Energy is all interconnected. It's like, just imagine a bunch of waves and in the water. They're all kind of just interconnected with each other, but they all work together in unison to form a wave. It's a very similar energy as to the water in the ocean, and the different way that waves kind of work together to provide us our surf and our different energies. Not only that, but we also have other energies influencing in things like the ocean, like the moon and the placement of the moon. The different types of energies have of the moon affect things like the tides. So I've had a very strong fascination with engineering from that standpoint, from the science, from the energy of engineering. But with tarot, we go way beyond that. The way that I see this, we're given 78 cards in every single tarot deck, or the majority of the tarot decks. I'm not talking about oracles or some of these other artisan tarot decks that add in a few more energies, which is just fine. It's all relative anyway. But the way that I see the traditional 78 cards or energies is that that's just a small glimpse into the infinity of energies that are around us, the infinite amount and the abundance of energies that are all around us that we can just pick and choose. And it all starts with a thought, folks. And here, well, this is my way of interpreting the energies in tarot. I hope you enjoy the class, folks. I've been very honored to bring this class to you. Now, before you go anywhere and jump into the class, if you are interested in donating to the channel, because this is my lifeline right now, and I appreciate any and all donations to the channel. You can go down in the description of the video. I have plenty of links: Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, and of course, the one that's showing up on the screen here, this QR code is for buymeacoffee.com/Omega.Tarot. And that'll take, if you can just, you just take a screenshot of that, or scan it with your mobile device. Again, more engineering marvels, right? You can just scan it through your device, and that'll take you straight to the page. And on the top QR code with the Omega Tarot symbol, that's the subscription QR code for the channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you can just scan that as well, or just hit the subscribe button on my channel. But with that, I thank you very much. Again, I've been your very, very humble host on this class. My name is Gabriel. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, or if you like a private read at reading@omegatarot.com. Thank you once again. I hope you enjoy the class. God bless, love and light, and I'll see you there, folks. Till next time. This is going to be a rather kind of a quick kind of a class. It's going to be quite unique, perhaps, from anything else you've seen. Just my interpretation of the energies, the way that I see it. There's no absolute authority, so to speak. It's just really more about our feelings and our intuition, and that's why I call this class Tarot the Exodus, or the Exodus. I don't mean that necessarily in a biblical sense, even though it is a biblical term. And what I mean by that is it's really about self-discovery, self-reflection, going deep within, and understanding ourselves and how to use our intuition, really key into our intuition, and start developing that, towards our passions. For me, it was something that I had very deep inside of me, is working with regards to tarot and energies like this. And it was just something that I left kind of just on the back burner. And it wasn't until recently that I said, all right, it's time to really take that leap of faith. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And just going off and doing it. So thank you very much. Just enjoy the show, folks. I hope you'll get a kick out of this video. It's going to be, again, a timeless classic, I suppose. I'm just going to place it in the video, and hopefully folks get a lot of chance to share it along. And I'd appreciate any remunerations, any donations my way. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful. How about we get started, folks? Here we go. Again, there's going to be plenty of timestamps, and here we go, folks. Now, let's start with something called the tarot is divided into two main sections. One of them is called the Major Arcana, the other is the Minor Arcana. And now, when it comes down to the Major Arcana, these are meant to be, the way that I interpret this, life path energies. They're meant to be very transcendental and transformative in nature. They're meant to maybe perhaps work out issues and traumas that we need to look at a little bit deeper. It's really about talking about the energy of the shadow as well. So that's really what Major Arcanas mainly talk about, the way that I interpret this. Excuse me. Very long-term type of a commitment as well, or very long-term commitment towards self, and a particular journey that I refer to as the Fool's Journey, which we have right here as the first card out. So that's just a quick. Again, it's this class is meant to be very unique, because I'm just going to go through the whole thing, and of course I'm going to have a. I didn't mention this in the intro, but I'll just say it right now. I'm going to have a much more detailed class that is going to be paid, right? But this is for free. This is just getting out there. My appreciation to everyone in the spiritual community. Let's see now, the Fool. So this is the very first energy in the energy of the Major Arcana. There are 22 cards out of the 78 card deck in any deck of tarot in most decks. Some of them are specialized custom decks, artisan decks, and they might include more cards or repeat cards or things of that nature. But generally speaking, the Rider-Waite Tarot, which we're seeing right here, Rider-Waite with the artistry of Smith, also, we're talking about the energy of 78 cards that represent different types of energies. The first one of the 22 major arcanic cards is the Fool, number 0, which really isn't a number the way I interpret it. And this is all about starting up that journey. So I'm going to hold this up right here, folks, so you can see it a little bit, but I'm trying to keep it also all the other elements in focus. With regards to the Fool, we're talking about the energy of just taking a leap of faith into something, being very daring, throwing caution to the wind, as some tarot readers say out there. It's a lot about that solar plexus energy as well. Check out how there's a lot of yellow around here. There's also a little white dog down here that seems to be maybe a little bit of caution that the Fool energy is getting. And so when I see this energy of caution with the Fool or this little dog, it's maybe some advisor that sometimes might be a naysayer, someone that's coming in and saying, hey, you shouldn't do that. Anyways, the Fool is known to just be very carefree, very innocent, as signified also by the flower that the Fool is holding in his or her hand. It's not about gender, it's really just about the energy of taking a chance and starting something new. There's also the energy of a satchel that the Fool is holding on a staff. It's tied to that staff, and that satchel is meant to have the very minimal belongings that the Fool needs to survive or start up this journey. The one thing about this doggy that I want to point out also, it's meant to signify, warning, warning, you're jumping off a cliff here. As you can see that the Fool is kind of looking up and not even looking at the cliff. Anyways, just a quick one on the Fool, folks. Thank you very much. We're gonna stop it right here. This is just a very simple, very straightforward start to a journey, folks. So this is generally referred to as the start of the major arcanic cycle, and it's a start of something brand new, something exciting. The way that I interpret this, something that really drives your passions. And with that, well, let's go on to the next energy. The Fool starts the journey off, takes that leap of faith, moves on, and goes on to the next energy in the major arcana, which is number 1, the Magician. Let's go ahead and go into the Magician now. The Magician. Here we go, folks. Let's get a little bit of a close-up here for the Magician. I like this Magician very much. Look at how much yellow energy there is, a radiance of again, the solar plexus energy. Gemini is usually highly aspected with the energy of the Magician. This is also the energy of the Master Manifester, the problem solver. The one energy of the Fool finally taking a chance, taking that first step into the major arcana, and starting up with the energy of the Magician, which is the teacher, the instructor, the one with the which the Fool learns how to use and manifest with all the elements. And as you can see around the Magician right here on the board, we have all the elements manifested already, which are also on the Magician's table. We'll just call them out: wands, swords, pentacles, and cups. The wands signifying how to use fire, passions that we have within us. The swords, it's all about using our rationale, our intellect, rational thinking, maybe being strategic, things of that nature. Pentacles over here, the energy of the coin, the tangible nature of things, our abundance in the form of coin, resources, career, strategies, things of that nature. With regards to the cups, it's all about our feelings, how abundant we are relative to our feelings, how we manage our emotions and our feelings, and how we also tune into our intuition. That's the Magician teaching the Fool how to use all these different tools at his or her disposition. And that's exactly why the Magician is quite key, because without being able to have a clear understanding of these tools, it means that we're really not on the journey yet to clearly understand ourselves. That's really what this is about. The Magician is about opening up the door to ourselves to be able to master every one of these aspects of our personalities and really understand what the next phase is relative to what we want, and really just take control, start taking more control of all these different elements in our personalities, so we can jump in and finally start manifesting a better future for ourselves, however that might be for us. It's really the way that the teacher teaches us to do this is precisely through manifestation, through the thought, the intention, and of course taking the right appropriate action to manifest. And well, that's generally how the magician is interpreted. A master at manifestation. In a more negative term, it might be something related to someone that can be also very manipulative of magic or other types of surroundings of energies. They could also be very manipulative emotionally as well. So that's another way to read the magician when it's in the negative. But most of the time, I like to see this as just a very beautiful opportunity of manifestation. Whenever the magician shows up, again, being able to harness the beauty and the power and the balance of all these different elements around us. That's the magician, folks. Now we're going to jump into our next energy of the High Priestess. Now, here we have, folks, the High Priestess. With regards to the High Priestess, I'm just going to zoom her in right here to the camera a little bit so we can see that. So this is a very, very complex energy. One of my favorites with regards to its complexity. This talks about, if I remember the mythology right, and please don't quote me on it, go back and check this out, folks. This talks about, in Greek mythology, Persephone and Demetrius, or Demeter, I think that was her name, but she was the mother of Persephone, and what she's doing here is pretty much giving her daughter up to Hades, 3 months out of the year, which is generally during the winter. And this depiction here is of Persephone being very, very conflicted. It's at the same time being very, very quiet during this time. It's time that's it's noticed to be very cold, perhaps. She is the keeper of secrets, the one that highly just keeps marching on along, following orders, so to speak. Very submissive type of an energy. It's also symbolic with the divine feminine. We have the moon here. It's also about the feelings. When the fool's journey arrives at the high priestess, she's learning a lot about how to, or he or she in the fool's journey is learning how to use the intuition through the experiences that the high priestess is sharing. And now with the story of Persephone, she is actually quiet and kind of just doing her thing, really doing it because she actually loves her mother very much, but doesn't very say much. She's just very quiet and really reserved, but she's also very, very intuitive during this time. Also, one thing about to note about the high priestess is she always tends to have the letters B and J around her. They can signify balance. They actually signify something else in I believe in Kabbalah. I just don't remember off the top of my head. So again, this is for that master class. We'll have all these iron details out. There's also a lot of pomegranates around her, signifying a lot of abundance. Which I interpret as a lot of abundance of intuition. And she has a moon under here. Now, these are just the illustrations relative to Rider-Waite-Smith, and what I'm getting to this is just the way that she comes across as very balanced, very intuitive, very reserved. That's generally the energy of the High Priestess. If it comes in reverse or in a more negative sense, it could be a type of a warning, perhaps, to you if you receive this in the inverted position, a warning that your intuition might be blocked somewhere. So that's something to keep in mind. Pisces energy is also very highly aspected with the High Priestess. Again, her story is very, very unique. I really will get more into much more detail with regards to the masterclass, especially for the High Priestess, which has a most fascinating story. I just want to make sure I get all the details right. But for this class, it's really just meant to describe what that energy is. The silent sufferer, the being able to really understand what's behind the veil. It's that energy of being able to see much more than whatever is just in front of the use of the five senses. She's very in tune with the sixth sense and the crown chakra. Again, very in tune with her feelings, and also that makes her very, very intuitive for a lot of other reasons. Again, the next step after the magician is that fools stop right here with the high priestess. He or she has learned how to use the different tools that the magician has set forth, but now is coming in with the energy of, okay, now I want to learn how to use the intuition aspect in order to continue on this journey of manifestation for the fool. Anyways, that's what we have for the high priestess. Now we're going to move on to the next energy of the empress. All right, folks, the Empress energy. Libra and Taurus highly aspected. I also like to point out that the Empress also has a shield, generally depicted with the symbol of Venus. Oh, excuse me. And she's all about having a lot of abundance of beauty, of poise, of feminine energy. She is the manifestation. She is the real world, so to speak, energy of the divine feminine. The Empress is, let's say, the 3D version of the High Priestess, where the High Priestess is more about the spiritual sense, that divine feminine of the spiritual sense. But with the Empress, this is a lot more of the divine feminine of a much more physical sense, very highly abundant. She's the culmination of all four queens in tarot, and we'll get to those when we get to all the different suits. And when it comes down to the Empress, she's just absolutely in their sense of her abundance. She's very loving, very generous. She could also manifest a lot of fertility, for instance. She can also represent a motherly figure or a grandmother, someone with a very highly regarded matriarchal type of a role or position in some sort of life or family tree or something like that. So that's the Empress energy. Very poised again, very confident in her own right. And whenever I see this energy, I immediately think of a lot of abundance, a lot of wonderful, beautiful energy that's all about radiating very wonderfully to the world. It's the energy of just feeling like you have it all. Being the Empress is also very receptive to a lot of wonderful universe gifts from the universe. She also carries together, if I'm not mistaken, a crown of stars, which I believe represent all the zodiacs. It's 12 stars, I believe. But I'd go back and double check that one again. Excuse me again for my excuse me, for my master class. That's going to be something that I'll go into much more detail as well. Again, a lot more of that solar plexus energy, taking care of oneself quite a bit, really catering to the divine feminine in each of our energies. We all have both, the way that I see things. And I like to heavily resonate with the masculine energy, but of course, being a single father, sometimes we have to default back to balancing those a little bit more in a little bit more of an equal give and take. So the Empress, that's really what that is about, is being able to harness in and tune into the divine feminine. And with that, we're going to move on to now the Empress's counterpart, the Emperor, which is the exact opposite of the divine masculine. So let's just go ahead and start with that. Thank you very much. That's been the Empress. We're moving on now to the Emperor. Now with the Emperor energy. This, folks, is the Emperor. The Emperor is generally representing Aries in the zodiacal wheel as far as the signs are concerned. There's even a couple Ram's heads right here. This Emperor is known to be a very divine masculine energy. This is the exact for instance sort of opposite to the Empress that we were just talking about a moment ago. And with this Emperor energy, we're really bringing in the purpose, the drive, that divine masculine. This Emperor has gone to battle, and as a matter of fact, is kind of always prepared for more battle. Check out the killer boots here and the armor across the knee there. This particular Emperor is that type of energy. When we come out in an Emperor energy, it can be also very stubborn. It can be wanting and driving towards some sort of new conquest. It's also maybe a hint of trying to really win at all costs, even against all odds, kind of thing. And it might be driven with a little bit of maybe a little bit of pride, a little bit of selfishness, a little bit of ego there. So that could be more of the negative trait of the Emperor. But again, with the Emperor, it's really more about very assertive, very direct, very bossy type of an energy. It can be. It can also be very impatient. If you ask, if you ask an Emperor for some help, perhaps they'll almost laugh you off. They're like, no, I don't help anyone unless I want to. They're very direct, very cunning, very strategic. Again, a very different energy from the divine feminine. Again, from the Empress, which is much more generous, much more loving, caring. This is very strict. This can also signify well, strict in the best sense, of course, stern, very direct, very assertive. This can also represent a divine masculine in your world or a patriarchal type of an energy. And patriarch doesn't have to be necessarily someone bad, right? A fatherly figure, a stepfather, a brother, someone of a divine masculine trait. And we all carry both traits, divine masculine or feminine. So it could just be someone that is carrying that energy very heavily of the divine masculine that could be signifying this energy as well. Or maybe you, if you're reading for yourself or in a general type of a sense. But that's really what the emperor is really being able to control whatever your environment is. Be careful with being a little bit too obsessive with that control, maybe too controlling. And that's really one thing to keep out on with the emperor. And that's really what the emperor is all about, folks. How about we jump into the next one, which is our Hierophant energy. Thank you very much. All right, folks. Now we're jumping into the energy of the Hierophant. Let's go ahead and add that right up in here. So the Hierophant, this is characterized with Taurus energy. The Hierophant talks about just being able to say, okay, I have a lot of faith in something. The way that I interpret this energy right away. Why? Because the energy of the Hierophant is generally a priest. It generally symbolizes, excuse me, institutions or some sort of maybe a very well defined, perhaps even monolithic type of mindset of value systems that have proven the test of time. They've been around for quite a bit. They all, so with that, that includes perhaps religious institutions that have been around for maybe, a few hundred years, thousands of years, certain mindsets, certain energies that just won't change. And that's kind of what's coming across here. Is just folks that are within those types of energies have a lot of faith within them. They've had faith for thousands of years, for millennia, and that's really why this energy immediately for me talks about faith. Now, this can be any kind of faith. It doesn't have to be religious in nature, but that's where I draw the energy of faith from with regards to the Hierophant. And I almost always default to that, like having faith in yourself or questioning your faith or having faith in someone or something else. I always put it in that context when I see the Hierophant almost right away. Now, also, this can also signify, again, going back to long-standing traditions and solutions or values or institutions. That's also significant with things like marriage. The Hierophant also can talk about marriage, deep unions through through maybe religious ceremony or traditional ceremony, sharing the same values, traditional values with someone. It's also very, very well established institution. It could be government entities. It's supposed to signify. I believe this illustration is supposed to signify a pope, but I just Pope Alexander perhaps, but I just can't really remember the time, so, the exact one. So don't quote me on that, folks. Just do your own research. This is meant to just provide a little bit of insight into what these energies are. Again, go back to my master class later on. That the release date is going to be still TBD. I'm putting together all the details. But anyways, for now, this is just what we have for the Hierophant. A very, very monolithic, very traditional, very relaxed energy, very grounded, perhaps a little stubborn, and it also perhaps is something again very well established, maybe very, very leaning towards a very heavy commitment with someone. If that comes out, so that's what we have for the Hierophant energy. Thank you so much. Now we're going to move on to our next energy of the Lovers, folks. The Lovers. What a wonderful energy. This is all about the energy. This is, by the way, highly aspected Gemini with this. When it comes down to the energy of the Lovers, I like this particularly because, and I'm going to have to cover these guys up. I really like this because this is not only about two people coming together, and loving up on each other as a soulmate energy, which it is. It does signify that the way that I interpret this as well. But more than anything, it's about making a very clear, loving choice in love. As a matter of fact, the Lovers card used to be called the Choice card. Way back when, before I think it was even before the tarot went through divination. But the idea with lovers is this is about the energy of just being able to make a conscious choice in love, something that really, someone perhaps that really resonates with your energy. It's supposed to be very, very unique, very, it's like looking into a mirror, but really loving what you see, kind of an energy with the lovers. Again, this could also be a choice in love on the other direction. Somebody's choosing you, yeah, as part of their soulmate type of a partner, or they see you that way. So that's how this lover's energy can be interpreted. I always see this as also very twin flame, karmic, soulmate type of ties. and that also resonates, heavily with, depending on the other energies that come around, with regards to that. So just keep that in mind, folks. This is the Lovers again. Very very beautiful, very healing, very unique love type of it's a love story type of energy, and it's also related to making very clear, concise, very very heartwarming, heartfelt. Energies of love with regards to that choice that you're making, making those choices very heartfelt and heartwarming. So that's what I have for the collective, for the lovers here, for all of you. Again, thank you very much. Now we're gonna go on to the next one, which is our energy of the Chariot, folks. The energy of the Chariot. So, what is it about the Chariot? A lot of tarot readers tend to associate this with the Emperor getting into the Chariot there and just driving away. Cancer energy is highly aspected with the Chariot, and no, I don't see this as the Emperor. I just see that whoever the energy resonates with is just making a very determined choice to move forward with something. It is very decisive. It is very assertive, very direct, very. It's kind of got that steamroller type of an energy of just like not really giving a hoot and just charging ahead, full steam ahead kind of thing. So that's really what's going on here. It's also very. I like that there's a lot of balance depicted in the illustrations, mostly because of these two sphinxes. There is a significance behind the sphinx. Again, I don't necessarily place a lot of necessarily the definition of the sphinx itself. Very spiritual, celestial type of a being that was highly worshipped in Egyptian cultures. I associate this with just bringing in a lot of balance. The belief that there has to be balance in this decisive type of action that's being taken with this Chariot energy. Again, more of that yellow energy all around this, very solar plexus. It's all about the presentation, the way that you move forward. It's all about the energy of the confidence that you have in yourself as well. I take this, the Chariot energy, and that's really what I feel this is mostly all about with the Chariot. So whenever this energy comes out, I just feel that it has to do a lot with motion, a lot about moving forward, a lot about just being very decided, very assertive. When it comes in the inverted, the more negative aspect is more about being very stuck, or feeling that the energies around you are stuck in the environment or things of that nature. The inability to move or some sort of restrictiveness around the energy or codependency. So just keep an eye out for that with the Chariot. And well, with that, let's move on to our next energy, which is the Strength energy. The Strength energy, folks. Energy symbolized with Leo, as you can very well see by the depiction, and most of the energies of the Strength that I've seen depicted in most of the illustrations for other tarot decks. It certainly is the energy of the lion that's depicted a lot, and it's more of that willingness to even face a lion, like straight in the face, or hold their hand or hold their head around kind of thing, and open their jaw. You see how this beautiful young lady here is taking the lion's head between her hands. And that really signifies that strength very, very nicely. It's having the strength to overcome any fears, fortitude, perseverance, resilience, a lot of valor and courage to really just overcome any barrier, any obstacle, anything that life throws at us. A little bit of history with the strength card is this also used to be number 11 back in the day, and this number 8 in the Major Arcana, it used to be the energy of the Justice card. Just a little bit of facts there, but I will get into more detail, of course, my class, my paid class, but this is just a freebie, folks, just so you can get a little bit of that feel for the strength card. And again, going back to that line, it is Leo highly aspected because of, of course, because of the relativity here with lions, the fact that you're facing a lion head on kind of thing. Again, a lot of that feeling of passion, assertion, very, very fixed energy as well, very deterministic type of an energy. Also, let's pay attention a little bit to some of the landscape, more of that solar plexus energy with the yellow coming in very nicely, and also some of the orange and red coming in, talking about the root chakra and the sacral chakra, but also a lot of innocence and purity with the white on her dress. Also, there's an infinity symbol over her crown chakra. Also talking about that divination of not only the number eight with the with the symbology of the Roman numeral eight and the infinity, but it's also talking about the infinite amount of wisdom and connection with the universe that this individual has, whoever you're reading for, that draws this energy of the strength card. Whenever we're seeing this, it's a divine cosmos talking with us, talking through us to really guide us through and be, find that inner strength within us to persevere and move forward. So that's how I interpret this particular energy. Very strong, very, very. Oh my goodness, very strong, very internalized. But it's that fire within us that helps us drive things forward. I really like that energy. All right, let's move on now to the next energy, which is the energy of the Hermit. All right, number nine in the Major Arcana, our Hermit, aspected with Virgo here. It's all about an energy of introspection, looking deep within, and really understanding oneself a little bit more. It's about deep reflection, really kind of just almost, I'm not going to say literally, but kind of the feeling of going into a cave and just maybe a form of isolation from everyone else, from all the distractions, from technology, from social media, from whatever that resonates as a distraction that might be kind of taking away your time and energy from bettering yourself. And this is where this hermit energy is very, very resonant. There's just isolation from the rest of whatever is going on in as a distraction, so that the hermit can go inside and really, really understand deep within who he or she is in this energy. And this is all about introspection, really deep reflection. And once we're done analyzing, going through those experiences internally, really understanding what our truths are, what we really want, how we really want to be treated, that's when the hermit is ready to come out a lot wiser. This is the wise sage of the tarot, coming out a lot wiser, a lot more ready to face the world with new experiences, new wisdom. Again, apply that as knowledge based on past experience for the most part. I also want to draw a little bit more of the illustrations. If you notice, the hermit is casually showing up with a lantern most of the time in most of the depictions of the different tarot decks that I've seen, and the lantern is has a star inside, and that I associate either with the energy of the star energy or even our sun energy. The number 17 and number 19 in the major arcana, which we'll get to. Right now we're on number 9, and that energy of the hermit really signifies that energy of the star, the lantern, and the star inside of that energy that the hermit is carrying with him, is the energy of that guiding light that's going to get us to the next phase. And that's how that hermit energy is really just trusting that guiding light, following his intuition, and really just moving ahead and lighting his own path along the way out of the cave and out of that cave much wiser, much more knowledgeable, based on again more experience and having faith in his or herself. Again, it's not about gender; it's about becoming much wiser. That's the energy of the hermit. All right, now we're gonna move on to one of my favorites, the Wheel of Fortune. Folks, now we have my favorite card actually, the Wheel of Fortune. Fixed sign energy, highly aspected with this. So this could signify Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus, or what's the last one, folks? Leo. So this is the energy of just being able to just ride the wheel of fortune and say, "Yep, it's time for me to feel very lucky about life, very fortunate about the life that we lead." It's about maybe fame, maybe some real, no kidding, luck and fortune, fated events that are supposed to line up at a certain time as well. When the energy of the Wheel of Fortune comes in reverse, it could be that things are kind of looking like they're going to need to be on repeat at some point. The way I interpret that when it comes out, just like you didn't learn on the first go around, so you're gonna have to do that over again. And that's kind of a part of that karmic aspect of the Wheel of Fortune itself. It can spin either way, right? One thing that I like to also point about the energy of the Wheel of Fortune is that most of the depictions show Tarot all around the wheel right here. Tarot, if you go around the wheel. And that spells tarot, doesn't it, folks? Just a little Easter egg if you haven't noticed that before. A lot of the energy of the solar plexus with the yellow statues right here, which symbolize the different energies of the fixed signs, but also a lot of blue signifying the energy of a lot of wisdom, a lot of introspection, connection with the universe type of an energies, fifth and sixth chakra. Also a lot of throat chakra I'm getting, the fifth chakra, so fifth, sixth, and seventh chakras from the Wheel of Fortune. A lot of other readers also give this the aspect of Sagittarius, although really for me it's just the fixed signs that are actually on the illustration. But really, again, with tarot, it's just how you feel about it. A lot of luck, a lot of fortune, a lot of very positive alignment of energies when the Wheel of Fortune shows up, and it's all in divine timing, divinely aspected to happen when it's supposed to happen for your own good, right? It doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. And that's really what the Wheel of Fortune tends to remind us of sometimes as well. That's what we have now for the Wheel of Fortune. How about we move on now to the next energy of justice? And with the energy of justice coming up next, we have Lady Libra coming up, as I call her. Beautiful Lady Justice making a wonderful appearance in this illustration of Rider-Waite-Smith. And with this, she's carrying in one hand the Ace of Swords on her right hand, very assertive, very decided. And on the left hand, she's holding a balance of scales right here, scales that are, just balanced just right, right in the middle. And she is supposed to signify what's fair. When the Justice card comes out, that energy signifies fairness, divine timing to balance the scales out in a certain way, maybe getting some sort of even legal justice in certain matters. The energy of justice really signifies a lot of balance. If something was unfair, then here we go. Perhaps there's some fairness coming in, and that's usually how this justice card is really interpreted. I also like to see the energy of a lot of red, signifying a lot of that foundation chakra, that root chakra type of an energy. It could be something that you find that you're very passionate about deep down inside of you, something that really drives you to the core is what I'm getting when it comes to the justice energy. Just feeling that whatever it is that you felt was unbalanced finally coming in, and it's part of something that you were divinely meant to go through because it's a major arcana, number 11. And yes, again, Libra highly aspected with the justice energy. Again, Libra, the constellation, the zodiacal sign, seventh house signifies balance, right? That's that Libra energy that comes in with justice, and that's a highly aspected in the card. Again, especially with those scales there. That's what we have for the justice card. Now, let's move on to the Hangman energy. Hangman, here we go. With the energy of Hangman, we have an energy of someone perhaps feeling a little bit stagnant, maybe a little bit stuck. The thing with the Hangman is this energy, by the way, also talks about Pisces energy, being able to be very intuitive about something. Is someone that, by the way, metaphorically is hanging upside down from a tree from their feet. They're not hanging from their necks or from their arms. As a matter of fact, the tale of the hangman is that the arms are actually untied and they can tie themselves off anytime they want. But the thing is, they're taking the time to, tie themselves upside down on a tree to see things with a very different perspective. And what I like to show about the hangman energy is that it's got a crown right there, and the crown signifies that crown that radiates over his head and neck. That really is signifying what I believe is some form of enlightenment that the hangman is receiving, an epiphany type of things. And when it comes down to that energy, it's really about realizing that things can be done perhaps a little bit differently. Maybe getting even some sort of intuitive hit with the energy of the crown chakra, the third eye, and the throat, all being very heavily activated. Again, that aura that's signified in the illustration. And again, it's all up to the hangman to tie him or herself down. It's not about gender, it's about that energy of purpose. And the purpose behind this is to see things very differently, gain some enlightenment, and also really try to just make sure that, if you're stuck in an energy, find a way out of getting stuck. Now, when the hangman comes in reverse, This could signify is that maybe things are you're sacrificing perhaps too much in a situation is what I'm getting when the hangman comes in reverse. There's not an equal give and take, or you're unable to see past a particular situation with a different perspective. You just keep seeing things the same way. So just keep that in mind with the hangman. It's also about a lot of reflection. Again, very intuitive type of card. Pisces, highly aspected. So it's really about seeing things very differently. Sometimes that requires just flipping things around, putting them on their head, and just seeing how that turns out. Kind of like a Rorschach test. You get to see what you really want to see. So start manifesting something that is in alignment with what you really want. Maybe you're still seeing things a little bit differently. That's the hangman energy for you, folks. Now we're going to move on to the death card. The death energy, folks. Here we go. This is Scorpio highly aspected, and a lot of folks. I'm going to start off by saying whenever I see the death card and I see that other tarot readers are interpreting this as a literal death, I'm like, no, this should not be literal in any way, shape, or form. We shouldn't live and die by tarot in any way, shape, or form. So right away, I'm going to say this is all metaphorical energy. The death means the death and transformation of the ego, of some bad habits that we might have, something that will better our future, better our present world right away with a good decision, make that a little bit better, and it will snowball into a much better future eventually. The other more biblical sense of the death card, the inspiration that I read about behind it, and I'm going to say biblical because there is a priest or a bishop showing up here that looks of a Catholic background, but when I get that energy, what comes to mind is the energy of the horseman of the apocalypse, which is what's being depicted here. The behold the pale horse upon him he who sat was death, and and hell followed with him. And so this is what's being depicted in my own interpretation of the energy. Is that energy of perhaps a very big change coming through? My goodness, as I say that, my throat chakra got a little locked up. So more than anything, I'm getting just the energy when it comes down to the death card of just a lot of transformation. This doesn't have to be biblical in sense. This is just what the story behind the death card means from what I've read. And of course, if you want more information about it, I'm going to be doing a master class. That's going to be a paid class for all the different energies. But just keep that in mind. There's a lot of history behind the death card, and it's biblical in nature. The other one very nice energy is that there is a lot of white in this energy, especially this. Well, it looks like a lotus card, lotus energy, a lotus flower, or maybe a rose that's coming in on the flag that the death card is riding in on, and that rose, that white flower that's coming in, symbolizes peace and harmony. So this doesn't necessarily mean a death of any literal kind or some sort of apocalypse. No, this means just whatever you're putting back behind you is making you transform into something much better. It's part of your evolution on the journey, on this fool's journey. It's how the fool learns to start evolving and becoming a better sense of his or herself. So just keep that in mind with the death card. That's what we have for this energy, folks. Now, how about we move on to our next energy of the temperance? All right, folks. With the energy of temperance, here we go. What a beautiful card. Now, I interpret this as the Archangel Raphael that is just taking two wonderful cups, and see how Archangel Raphael is mixing them together. This could signify a union with two people as very, very synonymous, and we'll get to that in the cup energies. You can also go to the timestamp for the Two of Cups. But or at least the twos. What I'm getting from this Two of Cups specifically is two people that are in union, healing together, and that's where this energy of temperance comes in. Being able to co-create together, they form some sort of an alchemy together, and that's where that Two Cups comes in the Temperance card. The Temperance card also represents a lot of patience. It's symbolized heavily by Sagittarius energy. A lot of patience, a lot of relaxing and understanding that sometimes things don't just march at the beat of our own drum. There's other celestial universe type of divine timing at play for certain circumstances, and sometimes we just need to wait for that to come into fruition. And that's what this symbolizes most of the time with temperance. Just practice your patience. If you're if resonating with someone else in this type of connection, if you're reading for someone else, or it's a multiple party type of a energy. This could just be waiting on someone to make up their mind, waiting, or just being very patient with regards to someone and their own timeline and evolution. Again, because we're all on very different timelines when it comes to things like the temperance and being patient. Again, alchemy itself also takes time to manifest and co-create with someone else. Really, first you need to resonate with that energy with that person first, and really be able to together co-create the right things. Otherwise, you'll be co-creating stuff that is just going to not work out too well. That's the energy of temperance, folks. A lot of patience, a lot of sensitivity, a lot of healing, a lot of awakening, a lot of co-creativity and alchemy with this. And then when it comes to the reverse, perhaps it's just a sign to be more patient. Be mindful of not getting impatient about things, or maybe a blockage in the alchemy and the alchemic process or the co-creative process, things of that nature. So think about it that way as well. That's the temperance, folks. Let's move on to our next energy, which is, yes, the devil. All right, folks. The devil, one of the most controversial energies, I believe. If you go back to the energy of the lovers, the energy in the illustration of the lovers is very similar to the illustration right here that's shown in the devils, except, of course, this one is much more graphic and morbid. And it seems to be a little bit more on the nefarious side of, right? We're talking about the energy of temptation, codependencies, control, very discriminatory type of an energies, very toxic in many senses. This is Capricorn energy, also highly aspected, so it doesn't have to necessarily mean all that. It could just signify Capricorn, and that's it. This is the energy of, no kidding, the devil's within us, the devil's around us, the energy of folks that don't, necessarily wish us bad, but maybe their intentions and their actions necessarily don't line up with each other. Their intentions might be very good, but their actions are reflecting in a very toxic way around you. So whenever this energy comes up in the devil, it could be just a reminder that it's time to look at toxic patterns, toxic behaviors, things that are not in alignment with our greater good. And that's where this devil energy comes in, reminding us of the shadow. That's why you see how pitch black all the background is back here. And there's also a very nefarious type of it doesn't seem like a very friendly illustration. Not to mention that the two people that are depicted in this energy, again, very similar to the lover's energy, except here in this illustration, these two people are chained together, and they're both chained to the neck. Again, very restrictive, and those two chains are binded to this devil, by the way. So very restrictive, very binding, very toxic in nature, and that's where this devil comes in. Energy sometimes comes in as a warning, as a reminder of what we need to heal or what we need to distance ourselves from energetically, things of that nature. Well, folks, that's the devil for you. How about we jump into the next one, which is the tower? All right, here we have the Tower, folks. Number 16 in the Major Arcana. Scorpio and Aries highly aspected with this energy. Also associated heavily with Mars, the ruling planet of both of those signs. This is the energy of a massive surprise. And what I mean by massive, it's shaking the foundation of your routine. It's perhaps a little bit of a wake up call. It could be health related. It could be financially related. It could be a breakup in a relationship, or a change, or maybe a much deeper union, or one of those very serendipitous events with someone where you're like, oh my goodness, I've met this person my whole life, but I just met them right now. I've known this person forever. It's that kind of very shocking type of an energy, just that the universe just finally levies on you for some reason. And now the some reason that I'm referring to is the universe knows exactly when it's time to shatter this tower into smithereens and really just force you to make change in your life. This is a very, very interesting reminder that doesn't have to be bad. This is the universe's way of intervening in our world to say, okay, it's time for you to make a change because the path that you're going on, you're not meant to traverse. Again, I see towers as very positive because there's many, many things that I don't see, perhaps that I might not be seeing with regards to the path that I've chosen. And so the universe, is a way, with the energy of the tower, it's a way of the universe reminding us, hold up, you need to pay attention to something else because whatever you're doing was built on a very weak foundation. It's bound to fall off anyway, so it's time to make a change and rebuild if necessary. That's the energy of the Tower, folks. Very, very surprising, very striking. Almost literally, it can just be something that just catches you off guard. Now, when it comes in reverse, an inverted energy of the Tower really talks about more of resisting the energy of change, I feel, or being unwilling to change despite the numerous amounts of signs from the universe, or the many times that the universe has tried to send you some sort of sign or signal, and you're just kind of unwilling to see it, and it just seeps to. I believe that when we see the Tower in reverse, it puts us into this repetitive catch-22 type of a cycle where over and over again we're having to repeat the lesson until we finally stop resisting this Tower and allow change to come in. But that's kind of where I'm seeing that in the more negative sense, in the detrimental sense of the Tower, or the inverted sense. And with that, well, folks, let's move on to now the energy of the star coming up next. The star energy. This is Aquarius highly aspected in this energy, but more than anything, it's the energy of healing, as I like to mostly attribute this card to. This is the energy of the awakening, the energy again of healing. Maybe after that tower moment that we just had in the predecessor energy, the 16 coming out of the tower and into the 17, number 17, the major arcana of the star. It's all about perhaps healing from that particular, energetic, rug pulling from the universe. And then the star also signifies the water bearer, Aquarius being the water bearer. And if you take a look at the illustration here, she's pouring water into the pool of consciousness, as that's referred to. And now, when it comes to pouring water into that, well, why is that? So, part of the healing that comes with spiritual awakening, it comes with, just doing, better karmically, as far as our karmic ties are concerned, our karmic energies that we put out, balancing energies appropriately. That's what healing is really all about. We give too much in a situation, then we could lose ourselves or a sense of ourselves sometimes. So it's time to pull that back. That's part of that healing, or maybe giving a little bit more, being more generous because we're not giving too much either. Or those are very healing aspects because it's dropping the ego. It's being open to healing. It's understanding that the universe also has to play in all this, with regards to that tower moment we were referring to. There's also a heightened sense of intuition when we're referring to the energy of the star. There's a lot of blue in this, which also highlights the throat, the third eye, and the crown chakras, which is kind of just how I read that generally. Anything that's blue is generally activating all three, or could activate all three. The energy also of the star, a lot of folks associate, that's myself included, with the energy of a wish fulfillment. So maybe sometimes when this energy shows up in one of your readings, this is perhaps what it's talking about as well. I also want to point out, we talked a little bit about the tower, but I want to pull back and go to number 9 in the major arcana, the Virgo energy of the Hermit. And why do I want to bring out the Hermit? Well, because the Hermit is carrying a lantern that is fabled to carry the star, this exact star of this card. And so whenever the Hermit star comes out in readings, I usually also point out that there's a star there, a guiding light, some hope, some healing that still need to be done. Perhaps it's about bringing the star, letting it out of the lantern, kind of thing. Perhaps depends on your storyline. Just feel it, folks. This is energy. It's not exactly rocket science. And well, in general, again, the star, again, more about healing. I can't emphasize that enough. It's about that guiding light, wish fulfillment, feeling a sense of accomplishment, and feeling that things are going to get much easier for you moving forward. In the inverted position, even if I don't read inversions, the star does mean pretty much the exact opposite. Hopelessness, or feeling like things aren't aligning properly, or maybe an inability of some sort to heal, which I would attribute to really just choice. If you choose to want to heal, then you will, and you'll be able to enter and go through this energy of the star very nicely. So that's what I have for the star, folks. Now, how about we jump into the next energy of the moon? All right, with the moon energy, we have more of that very dark kind of an energy. The solar plexus radiates highly in the star, and it also radiates highly in the sun and the energy of the moon in this case. But it also is resonating very heavily with the background, very similar to that star energy, the energy of the throat, the third eye, and the intuition in the background. Or the crown chakra, excuse me. It's all about using that intuition. I'm getting ahead of myself. The moon I associate very heavily with Cancer, although it can be associated with Pisces. There's even a little crawfish or a lobster in most or all of the illustrations that I've seen, or some sort of crab figure. And there's also a couple of dogs that are mostly in most of the moon energies, with these towers in the background as well. This is supposed to signify some sort of perhaps restrictions, perhaps maybe some sort of secrecy, some sort of reservations. They could be obstacles along with the way on your path, on your intuitive journey. The moon is really just the energy of the shadow, the energy of the secrecy, the energy of not expressing yourself too much. Maybe holding in the feelings as instead of letting them out. It's also, again, a lot of secrecy. It's also about maybe not speaking to people or just reserving your energy from the from the throat chakra just with others. And that's really what I get mostly from the energy of the moon. It's about the feels. It's about the divine feminine. It's about the energy of being just in your emotions and your feels, doing a lot of reflection, inner work, inner peace, inner meditation. Again, reiterating that divine feminine, highly aspected, and it's also one of the most amazing satellites that we have, orbiting our wonderful planet as well. So this has a significance that I hold to with regards to different lunar cycles that we have as well. We constantly see the moon in a new moon or full moon phase or anything in between, and that has a resonance with the different constellations that are around us for the different elements of the zodiacal wheel. So recently, by the time I'm recording this, we just had a new moon in Aries, and we're about to have, or we just had a full moon in Libra. So there's a certain periodicity with the moon. The next full moon in Aries is going to be during Libra season, which is when the new moon in Libra is going to be. So that's usually how that works with regards to the way that I understand that. Again, with anything related to lunar calendars, always check your geography, your time zones, and things of that nature, because that's heavily influenced with where the different astrological placements are on the planet as well as our moon. In any given day, any time and place. So that's the energy of the moon, folks. Again, a lot of secrecy, a lot of being in the dark, a lot of introspective type of energy. Not very talkative, not very expressive, perhaps. A lot of the feels, right? So there could be a lot of silence in this as well. And with that, folks, let's move on to the next energy, which is, well, logically, I'd say, what comes after the moon, after every sun, after every moon, that goes back, to where it's, after the moon, is done, and we're done with our nighttime. The moon goes back into the horizon, and out comes the sun. Well, not all the time, right? Sometimes we get a moon smack in the middle of the sunrise. But anyways, after the moon, we have a sunrise coming up, which is our next energy of the sun, number 19. Thank you very much, folks. We'll see you on that one. All right, the sun energy. This is the energy of positive energy, folks. There really isn't any way to slice it any better. This is Leo energy, highly aspected with the sun. With regards to the sun, this is also one of two cards that it's very unique for a lot of reasons. First off, it's the first of two cards in the Major Arcana that really can only be read in one direction. Even if you flip it upside down, or if you read inversions within your deck, it really means this exact same thing, forwards and backwards, inverted or otherwise. This is just the energy of positive energy all around, and you can actually check that. Check that reference. This is a reference that I've been that I kind of kept to memory myself. The other energy, if you're wondering, is the world, and we'll get to that after after we get through Judgment and the Sun, of course. Speaking more about the Sun energy, this is also there's only two other cards also that depict sunflowers in this illustration of the Rider-Waite Tarot. See the sunflowers in the background signifying happiness, radiance, illumination. It's that energy of just a lot of happiness, joyousness, joyfulness, being very elated. Very. I like showing the cards, folks. I'm just gonna go and keep doing that. Very elated, very joyous, very boisterous. It's any adjective or adverb you can think of that has to do with positivity and positive energy and things of that nature. And that's what the sun signifies. Again, we were talking a little bit in the moon or energy earlier in the previous chapter as to how the moon can sometimes also eclipse the sun, or it has certain cycles. The sun is very simple for us, right? We have a solar cycle, and we have our seasons. We have day and night to signify kind of where our placement is at relative to the sun in astrology. And that's really where this sun energy kicks in the most. I think it's the closest star we have. It's the greatest and most abundant source of energy that we have from the universe. It's right here. It allows for life to happen. And that's why I think this is so much positivity associated with this. A contrast to the moon energy, this is divine masculine energy with the sun. The divine moon, the divine feminine being more of the moon energy. The energy of the sun is about purpose, about taking action. Again, more of that Leo energy kind of coming in there. And it's also very different from the moon, right? Because with the moon, we're talking a lot about shadows and secrecy and things that are in the dark still. But as I was saying with each moon, after the moon sets through the horizon, or a certain time of day, just happens to a certain time of night, the night is over, and now the sunrise comes over the horizon. We might still have a moon lingering around there, but the thing is, the sun ultimately just eliminates all the shadows of the moon. Ultimately, that's pretty much what's going on. Whenever the sun comes out, you start revealing all sorts of energies of light into the shadow, and that's what this signifies with the sun. Again, metaphorically, relative to tarot, whenever I see both the moon and the sun together, for instance, it's almost like a revelation of secrets type of a feeling. Rarely does it happen, again, because of the combinations of the tarot and different readings. But again, keep in mind, the sun is more about illumination, positivity, bringing something to light, bringing some sort of information, some sort of happiness to someone, or just feeling that in general, that general sense of elation. And the moon is just very different. So this is what I have for the sun. Again, very positive energy. Doesn't matter if you flip it upside down or otherwise, it means the exact same thing either direction, folks. That's what I have for the sun. Now, how about we move on to our next energy of judgment? All right, folks. With the energy of judgment, we have the energy, first off, Scorpio, highly aspected. A lot of energy of using the intuition. A lot of blue, a little bit of maybe a little bit of indigo and purple. I associate this heavily with the throat, the third eye, and the crown chakras as well. Now, what the Judgment card talks, or the energy, what it talks to us about is about the Archangel Gabriel coming down. And I'm not trying to get biblical here. This is just how the energy is portrayed. An archangel, Gabriel, comes down from heavens and revives the dead, and revives the dead into the living again, so to speak. So that's why you have a lot of folks kind of just rejoicing, kind of raising their hands, being glad to be alive, being raised into the heavens, perhaps. And that's the energy that judgment talks about. It's that day of judgment, the ultimate day that's described in some biblical texts, Apocalypse Day, where before Judgment Day, right, all the innocent souls get shipped off to heaven, and then everybody else is left behind in some sort of purgatory, so to speak. I'm not no, don't quote me on that. I read all sorts of texts. I don't mean any disrespect either. This is just how I interpret the energy. Reconciliation, rejuvenation, resuscitation of some sort. And this metaphorically, this is all metaphorical energies, not to be taken literally. This could mean a return of some sort of karmic debt that you were paying off or were meant to pay in some regard. Again, the revival of some past karma that needs to be paid. The revival of some past energy with a reconciliation of a past lover, perhaps, or some past work relationship. It could be pretty much anything, and really, it's down to what happened before, what karmic lessons still were undone, or they weren't fully completed yet, and that's where this energy of judgment comes in. It's time to complete that cycle once and for all, kind of give it that full circle type of a feeling, and that's where judgment comes in. The universe finally aligns the energies just right so that you can start reconciling, healing, moving past this. Because, well, right after judgment, we get to close the major arcana out with the next card of the world coming out. So you're almost at that end of that karmic cycle anyway. So what better to give it a little bit of a cherry on top than the judgment, just to say, okay, you forgot these little things that you still need to figure out. Maybe you carry them into your next journey. Maybe you still need to go back and do a little bit of retrospection, go back into the past a little bit, retroactively try to fix that maybe in the present. I'm not sure how that is going to work out in your readings, folks. But again, the energy of reconciliation, making things a little bit better, or perhaps for your energy, that's the universe stepping in, making things better with some sort of a karmic blessing, or you're going to be, or someone, whoever you're reading to, is going to be asked for some sort of karmic payoff of some sort in order to make things right. That's what I have for judgment, folks. Now stay tuned. Our last major arcana energy of the world coming up soon. All right, folks. Now we've made it all the way to the end of the major arcana. We are now at the world energy, and I really like this energy. It's about closing that chapter that's, that's already well supposed to be closed, perhaps learning all the lessons along the journey. The fool has learned along the journey how to be a magician, a high priestess, an emperor, a hermit, has gone through tower moments, has understood the different celestial bodies around us, the star, the moon, and the sun. And now it's time to just start applying that as a part of that new adventure and start something brand new afterwards with the next, maybe another next adventure of the fool. But for now, it's first closing out those loose ends, putting the last cherry on top, putting that last period on the paragraph before you turn the page. That's what this world is with regards to the life path that you were on, or whoever you're reading this for. This is also characterized with fixed sign energy, the energy of Aquarius, Scorpio, Leo, and Taurus, kind of all rolled up into one. Very fixed, very very once it's set in stone, that's it. You already closed out the book. You're done. And if you want to, maybe revisit things from the past, then maybe it's a chance to start with a new chapter and new experience and new lessons that you've gained from this past chapter. But with the completion of the world, it doesn't mean you don't start over again. You can start any cycle as many times as you want consciously. We all have free choice. The world just pretty much signifies you're done at this point. And this is the other card, by the way. There's two cards in the Major Arcana that depict that cannot be inverted. By the way, in the entire tarot, there's two cards that can't be inverted out of the 70 cards. I already mentioned the first one, the Sun, number 19, the Major Arcana. But number 21, the World, is the other card that cannot be inverted. It's always going to be in the upright, no matter how you slice it. That's how I interpret this. This world card also signifies long distances. Maybe if you're reading a relationship reading of sorts, this could be a long distance relationship between two people or more, whatever that situation is. This could also signify long distances in a very short period of time. For instance, like the internet, right? This is something like how the internet operates. We have the reach of the world across the world at our fingertips, so to speak. Just a great example, like YouTube right now. So this is where the energy of the world is things that are related to the internet, communication that's far reaching. or influence that's far-reaching. Maybe your experiences are touching. If you're an influencer, or if you do some sort of public speaking or anything of that nature, where you have a lot of influence towards many people, the world signifies that long reach, that distance, so to speak. Very heavily resonant with some of the other energies that we'll get into in the Minor Arcana, but the world is really about also putting a completion to any past chapters that you've had in the past, any past life lessons you need to go through, those cycles, those karmic returns, the twin flame journey, all that fun stuff. You already closed the chapter, and you can now take all that learning, that experience, that wisdom and knowledge, and apply it somewhere better, in a much better context, on your next journey. For now, it's come to an end, folks. Just like this video with regards to the Major Arcana. How about we now jump in to the Minor Arcana, folks? Thank you very much for this lesson on the Major Arcana. Let's go ahead and jump in to our next lesson for the minors. All right, folks. Now that we've traveled the journey of the Major Arcana, the life path numbers in tarot. It starts with the Fool, ends with the World, and it can be restarted as many times as you like. The way that I view it, we can choose the energies however we want. And those are very transcendental energies. They can have a significant impact into our lives or the lives of people around us. At least the way that the energies are depicted, they're very transformational. They're meant for reflection. They're meant for all sorts of deep introspection, healing, awakening, self-love type of an energy. And it's all towards some sort of greater purpose with regards to your life, and some sort of an alignment with the universe as well, the spirit, the soul, all that fun stuff. Now, what about, but again, those are very longer term energies, but what about all the shorter term energies that we might be feeling more in the immediate time frame? And that's where the Minor Arcanas step into the picture to provide a little bit more seasoning into our daily life. And the Major Arcanas are split up into the basic elements that we're mostly familiar with. Again, the elements can mean many, many different things to many people. The way that I read the four main elements of tarot are fire for the wands, air for the swords, water for the cups, and earth for pentacles. Each one of these different suits corresponds to a different element that I just mentioned. The suits being the wands, swords, cups, and pentacles. If you think about a standard playing deck, like for poker or some of the other playing cards that most people are familiar with, the wands would be your clubs. The spades would be your swords. The hearts would be your clubs, your cups, and the diamonds would be your pentacles. And that's kind of how that can be, differentiated as well through the standard playing card system. And a lot of tarot readers actually do read playing cards that include Jack, King, and Queen, but they don't include the page. Is what I kind of default to there. But, well, with that said, folks, this is the Major Arcana. They're life path energies, of course, but they're much more immediate, shorter lived, short term. You can even tie certain time frames to some of the Major Arcanas as well as the Minor Arcanas. And they all have also their respective zodiacal symbols and signs that they're associated to. If you want, again, more information, much more detailed information as to going through every single one of these in more detail, that's going to be in my other class, my more extended class, which I'm still developing by the time I'm recording this video, but maybe it's already posted later on. That's wishful thinking right there. But what I'm getting at is that for now, this is just going to be a quick overview of the Minor Arcana, similar to the Major Arcana that I just that you just watched. And it's gonna be divided a little bit differently than perhaps other instructional videos for tarot. The way that I've separated the tarot right now for this lesson is in the form of the different numbers, the numerology behind them. If you can see, we have four aces right here that are part of the first of every single suit is the ace. And we'll get to what the aces are, and we'll go through all the numbers as well. But we go for all the suits, we go from the ace down to the king. And that includes a king, again, the four court types, which is the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. And we'll get into each one of those. So, folks, welcome to the class for the Minor Arcana now. Let's go ahead and jump right in with, as I mentioned earlier, the very first set of all the cards in every suit, the ace, or the aces. Let's see what we have now for the aces. All right. Well, we have the aces now. This is a very first suit, first card in every suit. It's always going to be started with an ace. They're in number from 1 to 10. The ace being the number one. And with regards to the symbology, with regards to the ace itself, well, the aces literally mean a start in something, just like it starts off the suits, and each one of these suits with a particular with a particular with a particular starting point with the ace itself with number one. They're all numbered again from 1 to 10, and the beginning for each one of these is highlighted by the type of element that is present in each one of the energies for the different suits. For instance, now with the aces, we know that they're all about new beginnings. It's also about being able to start tapping into the intuition, the way that I read ones or double ones or triple ones. It's all about being able to tap into the intuition. When I see four aces, for instance, that to me is like an 11-11. It's almost like a twin flame type of an energy coming across. And when we're looking for ones or aces, they're not just going to be present in the ace. You might have to be able to, dig in and look into some of the other minor arcana or major arcana cards to see if you find opportunities like this, like the ace. Well, okay, let's jump right into what aces signify specifically. As I mentioned earlier, they are the start. They start a brand new beginning in passion for the wands, or some sort of creative idea that you start off with as well. With the wands, some sort of very passionate, very inspiring idea. With the swords, you get some sort of clarity of thought, mindset that is just very clear. A lot of truth comes with this. Victory after some sort of a defeat, perhaps. With the Ace of Cups, it's a brand new offer in love that's being extended, maybe an apology, maybe some regret, maybe some sort of a heartfelt offer of some sort. But it's all about the feelings, it's all about the emotions, and that's where that energy's stemming from with the Ace of Cups. And the Ace of Pentacles is all about a commitment with regards to an offer, maybe a work offer, maybe a real estate deal, a financial situation that you just want to start a new investment. The Ace of Pentacles talks about a new 3D something, right? Whatever that tangible thing that you can touch, feel, that you can invest in, that you can work with, that that's that Pentacle feeling, and it's a brand new start in that type of a journey with regards to the Ace of Pentacles. So again, let's just reiterate one more time: Ace of Wands. It's all about starting a brand new, very passionate beginning. It can be very tempting. It can be very new, very exciting, very inspiring and motivating. The Ace of Swords, a brand new idea that comes to fruition, also could signify some form of balance that you're bringing in. The Ace of Swords also signifies creativity in the form of an epiphany moment, like an idea that you just have. And that's also looking for that victory after defeat as well. The Ace of Cups signifying a brand new beginning in love, a brand new love offer, or an extension of love to someone. It can go either way. The Ace of Pentacles, an extension of a career offer or a job offer, or receiving that in turn as well, or some sort of other very tangible type of offer in the form of a mix between, say, cups and pentacles. It could look like an Ace of Pentacles could look like a brand new box of chocolates or some other gift that you're getting from someone if you combine it with the energies somehow. Right? Really heartfelt gift, so to speak, between cups and pentacles. But anyways, I just gave you a little bit of taste of how you would mix and match some of the energies there. But this is what the aces are. In general, brand new beginnings in any one of these wonderful suits. And now we're going to move on to the two in the tarot. All right, folks. With the number two, we have the energy of an alignment of sorts. The way that I read double twos, triple twos, or even a single two, it could be the energy of choice. It could also be the energy of alignment, the way I read it. Alignment meaning that you have more than one energy that might be out of alignment at some point, but somehow the energies sometimes they can align, and all of a sudden you have a synchronistic type of an energy between two energies. It happens mathematically with sine waves. There's always a point if you have the same amplitude of sine wave, but you have a different frequency. Ultimately, they're going to intersect at 2 points every single time, and that's just how physics works. Especially if they're in the same amplitude, they're gonna max and min at the same point. Just at least once during a particular period in the equation. I don't want to get too mathematical, but then again, I am an engineer. That's just who I am. With the twos, I like to say again a lot of alignment of energies. There were energies that were just out of alignment and they had to be realigned again, and that's where that the two energies finally seem to somehow align. Now, energies can be between two people, between circumstances, between thoughts. Coming to maybe meeting two ideas together. It can be any sorts of energy, really, and that takes us to the different elements with the two signifies. The energy of the Two of Wands talks about taking a very passionate start at something, like taking action right away. It talks about Aries energy, also very highly aspected with this. The energy of just seeing with clarity what it is you need to grab next and just going for it. The picture, which I believe is illustrated here, is of Alexander the Great holding the world in one hand and holding one of the wands in the other. Now, this is supposed to signify that even if Alexander the Great, which commanded a massive, massive army and controlled a massive amount of territory as part of his empire, back in the days of the Macedonians, we have here the energy of just taking that action anyway to conquer more, right? He's got the world in his hands and he still wants more. So that's that energy of action, perhaps a little bit of that impulsivity that could come with an Aries energy or fire energy more specifically. And that's what that Two of Wands signifies. The energy of the Two of Swords talks about indecision or lack of clarity. And if you take a look at all the blue around here, in the background here, I like to say that this is almost defaulting to some form of energy of needing to use intuition. Even if you don't know the details about something, maybe you can feel what it is that really needs to be done and just take action in that direction. With the Two of Swords, I also interpret this as Libra energy, but it can also be Gemini and Aquarius. But mostly, I interpret this as Libra. And now we're moving on to the Two of Cups. Again, this is not meant to be a quick, a slow class. Just meant to be just really brief, succinct, and I'll have a more extended class to pay for later. Once I'm done recording that as well. The Two of Cups. I read this as Cancer energy. It can also be aspected with a little bit of Pisces, but I read more Cancer energy with the Two of Cups. And there's also what I like to say about the Two of Cups. It's all about that union, a decision, making a decision to be with someone, taking action towards being with someone, just really forming a very harmonious union with someone. That's really what this signifies: union or uniting. It could be a job, it could be with another person, some circumstance, some idea. Just think about something that really makes whenever I'm reading the Two of Cups, I usually associate it with something that is really related to the reading itself, or I feel that there's some sort of union around the energy of the Corinth or whoever it is that I'm reading for. The energy of the Two of Cups also shows a catechus right there in the center there, which is the mythological staff of Hermes, which was known to be, right, the communicator of the gods, Mercury or Hermes, either or. It's Roman or Greek mythology. And with the staff of Hermes, signifying that we have some form of communication symbolized here in the illustration. What this really means with the Two of Cups is that the communication between you two in this union is very fluid, very easy. There's a lot of communication, perhaps it's very frequent, and that's that symbolism behind that particular illustration here for the Two of Cups. One more thing I like to point about the Two of Cups is that you can see that these are perhaps people from two very different walks of life based on how they were illustrated. Again, take into consideration these illustrations are several decades old, so they might not be showing exactly the same thing we'd be wearing today, but the illustration holds with regards to different walks of life, because this is exactly how different people would dress back in the day. This would be more of a illustration of perhaps someone in their toga, maybe someone that's more in the courts, or some sort of more political type of dress, whereas the person on the right is dressed a little bit more informally, more showy, a shorter skirt or tunic or whatever it is that's going on there. Again, signifying very different walks of life. So whenever you form this union with someone, it could be very unexpected, or it could just be someone you never would have ever imagined, kind of thing. In that sense, like not just unexpected as a surprise, unexpected, that you were perhaps never even looked at them, and all of a sudden you get along with them great, and you just never knew. So that's the energy of the Two of Cups generally, folks. A very nice divine union type of thing. With the energy of the Two of Pentacles, to take us to our last two, it's about the difficulty of making a particular decision in something that requires a reprioritization, is what I feel. It's like juggling too many things at once. And then all of a sudden, you want to grab one more thing, and that's the one that just makes all the plates fall off. It's the energy of being too busy to be able to receive, is the way that I interpret the Two of Pentacles as well. Sometimes by juggling way too much, we're not allowing ourselves to receive more. Again, add that extra little bit of weight, and all of a sudden everything falls. You don't get to keep anything, right? And this is where the universe perhaps sometimes remind us, when we see the Two of Pentacles, that it's time to reprioritize things and loosen up some of these hands, so we can also receive new things from the universe or from other people, get help from other people. Again, it's all about that juggling energy. It's very wishy-washy, a little bit of clumsiness going on. You can even see in the background, there's some ships in the background that are on pretty heavy seas, it seems like. If you take a look at the illustration, it looks like they're going through some pretty turbulent seas. And that's, again, it just feels that way, right? It feels like it's turbulent. It's meant to symbolize the feeling of the emotions, of how it feels to juggle many things or not have the priorities straight. It could feel a little bit off, a little bit tumultuous and turbulent. And that's where that energy of the illustration comes in. So, folks, that's what we have for the three, or for the two. Now we're moving on to the three. I'm not going to edit any of these videos. Again, it's just a very quick video that I'm putting together in the interest of sharing the love of tarot. Let's move on now to the number three, which is also very significant as a successor to our number two. All right. Now, welcome back. Now we're going to look at the number three in tarot, which has a lot of significance personally for me. I actually have a number three tarot tattooed on my arm right there. So I have very special significance with the three. I'm third generation, Gabriel in my family. The first son of the first son, and that's very significant in my family. So the three is very significant. I was born on the third week of the Aries season, also very significant. There's a lot of little synchronicities with me personally, so I'm a big fan of the number three. The three that I interpret generally signifies some form of manifestation or some sort of change as a result of the alignment of energies from the two. The two talks about making decisions and choices, and also accepting some form of change, or just simply coming to grips with not really knowing all the details about certain decisions. And the threes talk about now some form of action that I see as some form of manifestation from that indecision. Now, not all of them are related. Not all these threes are related to their preceding cards necessarily that directly, and we'll get to that in a second. But with regards to the three itself, it's about manifestation. It's about action. It's about sometimes maybe an imbalance. It could be an imbalance because a three is an odd number. But how about we dive right into the energies that we're talking about here? Three, double three, triple three. I associate those with also a lot of support from the universe as well to help you with your manifestations. Okay, now let's go into the different energies we have here for the different suits. Starting with our Three of Wands. Again, more Aries energy is aspected pretty highly in the Three of Wands. If you can take a look at this particular individual, it's just a person that's standing over a cliff overlooking a bay with some ships in it, surrounded by what looks like a beautiful sunrise or sunset. It's just beautiful yellow, reminding us a lot of the solar plexus, the presentation of ourselves, how we show up to the world. This person is clearly showing up with a lot of confidence, holding one staff high and just kind of looking over the pier. Now, this person could be waiting for the ships that are in the bay, waiting for them to come back in, right? Waiting for some manifestation to happen, or watching them leave. It's like you barely set out the intention, and now you're just having a lot of faith in what's going on here, in your intentions for manifestation. That's exactly what this card means, is being able to manifest whatever it is that we wish. by casting out that intention outwardly or inwardly towards ourselves, but really outwardly towards the universe to help us co-create what we want to. I associate the Three of Wands with a little bit of a minor arcana of the Magician card, by the way. There are some cards, some energies within the minors that I associate with the major cards as well. And Three of Wands just happens to be one of those energies that I associate with the Magician. Because of that power of the manifestation, just waiting for something to finally happen, and you're just being very faithful, very patient, casting the right intentions, keeping the energies clean and lined and fresh, and that's what that energy is. Again, maybe with a hint of impatience because of that Aries energy or impulsivity that's coming in here. But again, it's part of that excitement that you're just gonna get what you've asked for. So that's that energy of the Three of Wands. Now, how about we move on to the energy of the Three of Swords? When I talk about the Three of Swords, I almost always associate it with being the most painful of all the cards. And just look at the depiction and the illustration. It's pretty morbid, as a matter of fact. You have three swords that are piercing, just completely impaling a heart straight all the way through. It seems like it's also raining. It's very it's got this element of sadness to it, right? The like the cloud is crying or the sky is crying, right? So it's got an element of sadness around it. The element is highly aspected. The zodiac signs that I highly aspect this with is Gemini and Aquarius generally. But what I like to say about the Three of Swords in general is that it is an opportunity to heal. Whenever we go through very, very painful cycles like the one through the Three of Swords, it's temporary, right? It's not going to be long lasting. As a matter of fact, we don't have any necessarily very painful cards in the major arcana. We have them right here, temporary pain in the minor arcana. It's not meant to last forever. The energies of the major arcana, those are much more transcendental, and they can certainly last throughout our lifetimes. But the energy of the Three of Swords doesn't. It doesn't have to be a permanent pain. It can be something that just lasts for a little bit. It could be physical pain, like going to the gym and working out. Like my arms are like just on fire right now from my workout, and or it can be more of an emotional pain where you just got heartbroken and you're figuring out how to heal from that. Again, what I like to say about the Three of Swords is that it's all about being able to heal from this pain. That's the opportunity that lies with the Three of Swords, because right after the three, we go into a Four of Swords, which is all about meditating from the pain. So there is a little bit of a connection in the energies that way throughout the suits, throughout at least throughout the suit of swords. With the energy again of the Three of Swords, it's very painful. There is no way around it. The way that I see that, it's just something you got to just deal with. It's divinely timed. And we're not talking about any abusive form of pain either. This is all metaphorical in nature. Just keep that in mind. If you need to see a doctor or law enforcement or anything of that nature, then do so. Don't keep watching the video. Just go ahead and do that, or don't keep watching anybody else's video that's showing up with this Three of Swords, because that really is not what it's intended here. This is meant to be entertaining and fun. And the Three of Swords simply depicts part of those life lessons that we go through that are meant to, help us find our better form of ourselves. The Three of Cups now. Let's go to the Three of Cups. This one has a lot of different meanings. Generally, it's three people that are raising their cup very joyously. This is cup energy, right? So it's all about the heart, very happy, very content, very liberated. This is also the energy of consenting with someone. If you want to maybe join in a party with someone, you have to like RSVP, for instance, that kind of energy. But this is more of a party type of an energy. It's about celebration, celebratory type of a feeling. Celebrating an occasion, an anniversary, a birthday, the return of someone. It's a social gathering. It's also meant to be a very social butterfly type of a feel. It's the energy of Cancer, highly aspected the way I read this. So this could also be related to maybe a get together with family as well, like a family reunion, and that's generally what comes up with the Three of Cups, folks. Now we're gonna move on to the Three of Pentacles. And with the Three of Pentacles, a little bit of, I like to say that this is Capricorn and Virgo highly aspected with this energy of the Three of Pentacles. And if you take a look at what's going on here, there's three people that look like they're in like it might be a basement or some sort of classroom, but you have one that's standing on a bench, and then two others that are kind of looking at that person that's standing on the bench. The person that's standing on the bench seems to be working very hard on something, maybe painting on the wall, or maybe he's got some sort of I don't know, maybe some sort of a blackboard going on and some chalk and kind of detailing some math equation. I don't know. The point about the Three of Pentacles is that it's the energy of just being very very collaborative with someone, some form of teamwork, some team building exercise, training perhaps. It's really about collaborating with more than one person. Although I will say that in some illustrations of other tarot decks, I've seen Three of Pentacles with only one person, such as the Gilded Tarot, for instance, only has one person in the Three of Pentacles, and there's three pentacles around that person, which I tend to signify as being some sort of an one-man army, to solve the problems. In order to collaborate is to provide the best by yourself, so to speak. Your contribution is everything you bring to the table as a single individual is how that can be read as well. But well, folks, that's what we have for the threes. Hopefully, this came to some sort of enlightenment. I'm not going. I don't know if you noticed. I'm not doing inversions for the minors. But hopefully this helped you out with regards to understanding what the main energies are with regards to the number two. And now we're going to move on to the number three. Did I just say that? Oh my goodness. We're going to move on to number four. Sorry, folks. I'm not going to edit this. All right, folks. Now let's talk about the number four in tarot in the minor arcana. Sorry for that a mishap at the end of the of the threes, where I mentioned that we're done with the twos. That was just I'm not necessarily editing that type of stuff out. I don't mind the bloopers. It's just meant to be a fun class, folks. And now we're moving on to the number four. The number four signifies, to me at least, the way that I interpret it, a lot of stability, harmony. Balance, of course, it's an even number. I tend to attribute even numbers as balanced numbers, as if like putting it on a scale, right? You have an equal amount of parts in both sides of the scale, so it creates some semblance of balance. It also signifies harmony, say, for example, the harmony of a family or a harmonious, for example, song where things just kind of really feel really good. The resonating frequencies in a harmony are literally frequencies in music that resonate together and form just a very beautiful set of melodies interlaced together that just make a harmony. Really, that's what it is, and they make just the most astounding sounds together. Something that's very pleasing to the ears, right? It's very soothing, relaxing. That's harmonies for you. Very commonly used in choruses and music, or in a bunch of other types of arrangements. I can go on and on with regards to what harmony really means to me, but with regards to tarot, really whatever it means to you in the form of stability and balance. And when it comes to the different suits in tarot that we have of course starting off with the Four of Wands. And I'm going to show that right here. The Four of Wands, and I was talking a little bit about a harmonious type of relationship, for example, and that's where this comes in right here. The Four of Wands talks about a marriage ceremony for two people that are in the middle. The illustration shows two people in the middle of these four wands that are they're stood up like a pergola, and they have all sorts of decorations around them. I'm not going to get into detail on what those decorations are necessarily. That's for the more advanced class. But what we can say about the four of we'll get to the Four of Cups in a second. With the Four of Wands is that there's a lot of celebration type of an energy going on, which is probably why I said cups. It reminds you a little bit of that celebration energy of the Three of Cups. But really, this could also signify, the Four of Wands can also signify a marriage. It can also signify a deep union with someone, a harmonious union with someone. And the other thing that that a lot of readers, including myself, like to point out and see how the pergola, the Four Wands, they kind of make out a 11-11 on there. So a lot of folks tend to associate this with twin flame journeys. So there's that aspect as well with regards to the Four of Wands. I also want to highlight there's a lot of yellow in this. So there's a lot of divine presence of the solar plexus with regards to how you're feeling, how you're radiating outwardly, how you're presenting yourself to the world. There's a lot of that energy aspected here. Aries is also very highly aspected with the Four of Wands. And well, remember, it's fire. It's all about action. It's all about just taking that leap into this commitment, union, or whatever harmonious type of arrangement that you're trying to carry out with someone, or in some particular endeavor. Now, with regards to the Four of Swords, which is our next energy here, it's all about mental calmness. The way that I see this, meditation, mental stability, mental. It's all about just being very relaxed, just eliminating stress from around you, so to speak. The story behind the Four of Swords is a soldier that's gone to battle, and before this soldier went to battle, he or she, I'm just going to refer to him as a he, because back in the day during these illustrations, women didn't do battle. They primarily, soldiers were men. It wasn't until modern times that women started joining armed forces a little bit more formally, as far as history that I know is concerned, especially with regards to European history, which is where these cards and the illustrations originated from. The depiction shows a soldier that's coming back from battle laying on top of his own sarcophagus. This was meant for him if he didn't make it back alive. So now he's coming back alive, meditating quite a bit on what could have gone wrong. And as he's meditating, he's already overcome. If you look at right above this particular soldier that's just laying down there, right above there's three swords right next to the stained glass. The stained glass shows a little bit of that Six of Pentacles energy, a little bit of that equal give and take type of energy. We'll get to that when we get to the sixes, but just keep in mind that particular energy for now. For the Four of Swords, we have three swords that are hanging on top of these of this individual that's laying on top of the sarcophagus. They're hanging there as a reminder of the pain that he's had to overcome in order to finally get some rest. Now, this also can be interpreted as an energy of not just meditating and getting some rest and relaxation. It's really more like the way that in a more practical sense, the way that it's interpreted is reading the energy as just getting isolated, removing yourself from the energy of others, so to speak, isolating yourself. This sarcophagus is like if you go to a graveyard or some sort of other area where they keep our dear beloved ones. A sarcophagus is generally stored inside of a smaller building, like a little small concrete little shack of sorts. It's adorned with, again, with that stained glass, beautiful doors. It's meant to be a final resting place, and it's usually like the last room. And with that, you'll have the sarcophagus, right in there where the body will lay to rest. But here, this person enters the room and just closes the room behind this soldier. Closes the room and just lays on top of the sarcophagus, on top of his own tomb, but inside the building. Again, isolating himself from the outside world is where I'm getting with that. And this, in the more practical sense, this could be the energy of just blocking out people, like from your life or from your energy around you. That could be blocking through social media, through any form of communication, a phone number, an email, maybe even getting legal involved with regards to some of this blocking, although I don't necessarily see that I've ever had to read it in that sense. But that's certainly a possibility. It's just, creating some sort of a bubble around you where you can meditate, recuperate from this Three of Swords, which, if you recall from the lesson of the three, the number four, the Four of Swords, signifies overcoming that Three of Swords pain also. That's what these three swords are all about. Reminder of that pain and that it can be overcome ultimately, and that better things are, straight ahead. Now, let's move on to the Four of Cups. Now, I like to generally refer to this one as my no thank you card. The no thank you card, definitely. Oh, wait a minute. Before I forget, the Four of Swords, I usually associate that very heavily with Libra. Again, the energy of just being very calm, cool, collected, and relaxed type of an energy. With regards to the Four of Cups, I get the energy of Cancer usually is what I associate this to. But more than anything, this is what I call my no thank you card. Very affectionately, I call it my no thank you card. No thank you, no thank you, not interested, not interested. That's exactly the attitude behind the person that's got his or her hands, neatly folded, laying his back, resting his back on a tree there. But all the while getting an extra cup that's being offered by this cloud right here. If you can see the depiction of the hand and the cloud right there. And what it means in this particular energy is that you're getting a brand new offer, almost like an Ace of Cups offer from the universe. But the thing is, either you're not ready to receive it quite yet for whatever reason, or you just don't want it, not interested. It's not your cup of tea, or a cup of energy, right? Literally. And this is where that energy just comes in to say, no, thank you, I'm not interested. And you're just more focused on perhaps the three cups that are in front of you. There's also three more cups right in front. Those are the ones you celebrated perhaps with in the preceding energy of the Three of Cups. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of using the intuition. Cancer energy highly aspected, so it's also about the home, the family. Fourth house energy, again, number four. Well, all right. Next one we have here is, of course, the Four of Cups. We already said Four of Cups. The Four of Pentacles. I said I wasn't going to edit most of this. Just the transitions, for instance. But the Four of Pentacles, what we get with the Four of Pentacles, this is what I also refer to as the miser of the tarot. The one energy that just likes to hold back all energy, so to speak. It's very reserved, very conservative, doesn't want to share, doesn't want to collaborate, doesn't want to do anything. There's a particular reason generally associated to why someone or something would hold back their energy like this Four of Pentacles. Again, it doesn't have to necessarily be resources, even though it's pentacle energy. It doesn't have to be money or something financial. It can just be time. It can be attention. It can be all sorts of things that are being held back in this energy of the Four of Pentacles. Very similar to the energy of the Four of Swords. And actually, when I see, for example, to use a little bit of a illustration here, when I see a combination of four swords and four, excuse me, pentacles together, I tend to see that as the energy of just completely cutting something off in every way, shape, and form in order to provide yourself with some form of balance. That usually could come after a time of deep healing, introspection, rearranging your priorities, or just looking at your life a little bit differently and saying, okay, we need to make a change, or just making, asking someone else to change, and then reserving yourself from that energy until it aligns better with you. Because when we start getting out of the fours, that's when we start entering into the energy of the fives if we keep proceeding, which could cause an imbalance. Or the threes in the other direction, right? We can also regress in the energies, go backwards, which also provides some sort of imbalance. So if something is throwing your four off, your harmony off, then that could be something that you perhaps protect yourself with holding back your energy or saying no thank you to things that don't serve you. So keep in mind that's the energy with the number four in the tarot. All these different fours, they primarily seek some sort of balance and harmony in your energy. And of course, with all this, you're heavily protected by the universe as you do this on these, whichever energy you're choosing. That's how I associate, single fours, double fours, triple fours, and all that fun stuff. So, well, with that, folks, how about we move on to the number five? I'm going to get it right this time. Let's move on to the number five. All right, folks. Now we have the number five, which is usually one of the most interesting energies, in my opinion. It talks a lot about change. I associate the number five almost immediately and almost all the time. I don't think I deviate from this too much as change. Fives are change. A double five, triple five, quadruple five, they all signify some form of change. And the way that I read that is the more fives you add to it, the more significant, or the greater the manifestation of that change, so to speak. The greater the change, the greater the manifestation of the change, the greater the impact of the change. Interpret it as you will. It's really just up to how, at the moment that we're reading, this is really where it comes up the most, relative to also the other cards that are the other energies and cards that are present. In general, they signify change. And we're going to start off with the Five of Wands. And the Five of Wands, again, change of a particular kind of action, five of fire, talks about perhaps a lot of competition, a lot of fighting, infighting, changing the perspective from going from very harmonious to a lot of imbalance. There's no more four wands that are neatly stacked here like a couple of to form a pergola anymore. Now we have five staffs, wands that look like staffs that are being used to fight or bicker or some sort of It looks like just a bunch of it just looks like five people that don't really know how to handle wands or sticks, and it looks like they're hitting themselves with it almost. I like to associate this with the energy of training, some sort of torment, some sort of tumultuous event as well. The energy of a lot of change with regards to the people around you and their attitude towards you. Maybe they're being a little bit more aggressive or assertive. And that's usually what this Five of Wands signifies. I like to also associate it with training because we're using, with regards to like martial arts and things of that aspect, we use rubber or wooden sticks to train with. Otherwise, it wouldn't be very practical training. So that's why there's that depiction that always reminds me of that. It's always about training. The other thing also with this is if folks, if there's a lot of folks that are training together all at once, maybe the training has to do with, well, who's the winner out of all this? So there's an aspect of competition with regards to the Five of Wands. Everybody's fighting over the same thing. Perhaps a position in sales, perhaps a competition in sports or things of that nature. And that's what this Five of Wands generally would signify, something very actionable, but also something that is getting a lot of attention from others, and it's perhaps causing a little discomfort for you, because it's forcing you to change something in your routine, or keep fighting or competing with with the individuals around you that are also doing the same. That's the Five of Wands, folks. Now, the Five of Swords, with the Five of Wands, let me just call out Leo energy, highly aspected is what I get with Five of Wands. With the Five of Swords, I get the energy of, just no kidding, some Aquarius and Gemini mostly. I don't get Libra from this one. And what happens with the Five of Swords is it's often commonly referred to as winning at all costs. And this is pretty much just the energy of, yeah, it doesn't matter if everybody else around you doesn't have a sword. If you look at the illustration, nobody's got a sword except you. You even have extra swords. And there's two people in the background that are kind of left out without swords. And you're kind of like over here with a smirk. See, the illustration has a little bit of a smirk on it. And so this is symbolic with the energy of just trying to win an argument, winning a discussion, even if you're wrong. You just want to make your point. It's having a discussion with others, maybe a heated debate with someone. Again, risking it all, perhaps in some instances, just to win it, right? Out to win it. It doesn't matter how. That's usually how that Five of Swords is generally interpreted. Again, Aquarius and Gemini highly aspected with that. Now, how about we move on to our Five of Cups? I'm not going to get into a lot of detail with this, folks. That's for the extended class. That's going to be a paid class later. Once I have it done. Well, hopefully I'll have it done by the time you get to this video. The Five of Cups talks about, just in a nutshell, it's disappointment. It's disappointment over these three cups that are spilt. There, you see, this is almost like excuse me, my eyes started itching a lot right now. It's almost like crying over spilled milk kind of thing, without realizing that there's still two more cups right behind this individual that's dressed in black. And what's going on with these Three of Cups is that this person is contemplating all the spilled milk, all the spilled cups, all the spilled energy that's going on down here. And in reality, they can stop contemplating and look behind them and see, oh, wait a minute, I have two more cups. And you can grab those cups. This person in black can decide to grab the two cups right there and ultimately share one with someone else. And then that forms maybe a union elsewhere. Maybe these are the two cups that are needed for him to reach his destination, as there is a building in the background right there that requires him to cross that pool of that river of consciousness. So perhaps it's part of the awakening journey is to pick up these two cups and finally head on, perhaps home or to his loved one or whoever it is he's sharing that second cup with. So again, highly aspected energy of Cancer, highly aspected the energy of disappointment in general. And remember, it's all about just being able to see the opportunity in the other two cups that are right there in the illustration. Now we're going to move on to the Five of Pentacles. Now, what I like to say about the Five of Pentacles is this is very, very similar to some of the other energies of the five. A lot of change, but it's also about the change relative to the finances, relative to your resources and things of that nature. The change stems from perhaps holding out too much, having too much in abundance, and the universe is kind of bringing things back in full swing in the other direction for you. Learning a little bit about humility, perhaps, with the Five of Pentacles. But more than anything, it's really a feeling of isolation, a feeling of being left out in the cold, as a lot of readers tend to interpret this, because the illustration right away it shows two people that seem to be freezing while it's snowing outside. One of them is, or it seems like both of them might be almost completely barefoot. And the thing is, with the isolation effect there, they're just really, really cold, left out in the cold, but they're not truly isolated from the world. The building that they're right behind or next to is it resembles a church, a chapel, or some other religious institution that was characterized by the stained glass back in the day. Again, going back to when these were first depicted. The illustrations are date back to the original divination in the was it 18th century. And with regards to this particular depiction, it talks about perhaps just having the opportunity that if you want to, you can get out of the Five of Pentacles, out of the cold by knocking on the door, and maybe somebody will answer. And by the way, the effect of isolation also is kind of counterintuitive because there's two people here. So they're not really isolated from each other. However, the feeling of isolation is present in both. Even though they have each other, they still feel like they're not a part of society or the community or whatever endeavor or program or relationship that they want to be a part of. The cool thing is here, they could just be a part of each other's lives and enjoy the ride also. So there's always a positive spin to see, even in some of the more negative leaning cards or energies. Again, it's not about negative, positive the way that I see it. Fives, they're just about change. And this particular change with the Five of Pentacles signifies the change in resources to the point where now it's a much more humble type of environment. And it can be interpreted as an opportunity to learn humility and grow out of that kind of thing. So that's the energy we have for the fives now. We're going to move on to the energy of the number 6. All right, now, folks, this is the energy of the 6. We have a very nice energy with the 6 because it's coming out of the energy of the fives, which signify a lot of change. It doesn't matter. I usually just associate the 5 with change and the 6, which it could be 1 6, a double 6, triple, or quadruple 6, or any other combination of those uh, so to speak. I just associate it with a time of reflection. Whenever we go through a lot of changes, well, it's probably best to figure out, all right, what to do next and reflect on those changes before taking action. It's part of recasting our intent over again, given the impact of said changes. So, coming out of the 5, we enter an energy of 6. It's all about the alignment of certain energies that give us that opportunity to reflect. It's also a very balanced number. It's number 6. So you can divide that evenly between two threes. With regards to the energies themselves, let's dive right in. We're going to start with our Six of Wands. Leo energy is highly aspected with this. And one of the energies that I really enjoy the most about this, about tarot, is the Six of Wands. It's not, I have several favorites, and we'll get to them as they come along. But with regards to the Six of Wands, this is the energy of just being completely in your victory. It's like after coming out of that Five of Wands energy, you're now entering the energy of victory after perhaps a time of very tumultuous time, very competitive time, perhaps a time that was just very challenging for you to go through those changes or the different actions. If you're, let's say that, for example, you're reading this in a financial sense, this is a victory after perhaps a lot of I don't know, sweating it in the stock market and buying and trading a lot until you finally get some sort of dividends. That's kind of how that comes in as the difference between the five and the six of wands. Again, a victory after defeat, a accomplishment being recognized. It's heavily it's really heavily a card or an energy of recognition. You can actually see how this person is very proudly riding in on a steed. Even the steed that he's riding in on looks very very confident, very poised. There's five wands around that are not, they're not fighting anymore. They're not like interlaced amongst each other like the five of wands. They're nice and straight again, just like in the four of wands, including the one that this particular knight or person on the steed here is carrying around. And if you look at the one that is right there, there's a wreath that's tied up to that one right there, and the individual here is wearing a crown of laurels or some sort of other crown that symbolizes victory, peace, harmony, and abundance. So there's a lot of symbolism in these energies. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail with regards to more detail in the class. That's for my more extended classes. It's just meant to be just very brief, get you through the door, get you to understand the main energies behind each one of these energies. But anyways, hopefully I'll get that out soon, and if not already, if it's in the description box, then it's already there. You can just ignore that message because I'm recording this entire session before getting to the master class that is going to be much more detailed. All right, I'm just going to organize this. All right, next up is our Six of Swords energy. The Six of Swords talks about making things a lot easier for us, very similar to a Four of Swords energy. The difference with the Four of Swords, it's like a complete isolation, whereas the Six of Swords, you can see that this person that's rowing this kayak or this boat or barge or whatever it is, they're not alone, right? There's more people there. It actually looks like a child and his or her mother is also right there depicted in the Rider Waite. And a lot of the energies tend to depict somebody on a ship or on a boat, usually rowing the boat, but they don't necessarily always depict more than one person. But in this case, we're going to go with this story that there's more than one person as one of the main differences from the Four of Swords and the Rider Waite. And the reason I want to pick that particular energy to describe the Six of Swords is because this is about moving past certain, emotional baggage or mental stress and really moving past that. It's not about pondering on it anymore. It's not about meditating anymore. It's about taking action to really remove yourself from that energy. Maybe even some sort of like literal move, although I don't read tarot literally. Some folks might be resonating with a literal move when they're hearing about the Six of Swords. Mainly, it's about things getting a lot easier for you. It's a lot of stress and weight that's been lifted off of your shoulders or off of your mind. So just take that as the energy as it resonates. That's mostly what I get from the Six of Swords. Is also associated with. I get a lot of Libra associated with this. It could be a little bit of Aquarius. It could very well be Gemini as well, but I don't see Gemini in the Six of Swords. Mostly Libra and a little bit of Aquarius. Again, the energy of making things a lot easier, moving on to calmer shores, sailing away to much better to much greener pastures, so to speak. Is that, that's kind of where that goes. And it's not like the pastures weren't green before you, but they were starting to just get really nasty and muddy, and you just want to be able to enjoy life elsewhere, is where the Six of Swords comes in. Now let's move on to the Six of Cups. The Six of Cups talks about the energy of nostalgia mainly. This is Cancer highly aspected, and it's well known that in the depiction in Rider Waite, there's looks like two little children that are giving each other flowers, sharing a lot of very innocent, very sweet love, almost page-like type of an energy. And we'll get to the pages, or you can skip to that in the section of the pages. It's very sweet, very innocent, very immature, very young, and it's meant to signify just that feeling of when we were young, so to speak, when things were a lot easier emotionally, when we hadn't gone through heartbreak and things of that nature. It could also signify a reconciliation with a past energy, someone from the past that's coming in and wanting to reconcile or want to make some sort of reunion or a comeback. So it's that type of return of the soulmate type of an energy. The Six of Cups is also often attributed to past life history with certain people. That's that nostalgia and familiarity with someone else that has nothing to do with a person you know. It's just a stranger perhaps you met on the street or in a shop or at the gym or at a restaurant or something, and all of a sudden, the moment you start talking with this person, or it generally it's a union between two people. So I'm just gonna run with that energy. When you start talking to this person, it feels like you've known them for the longest time ever. And that's that energy of that nostalgia from a past life energy that really starts resonating with you. Conversation just flows. The laughter just flows. The energy, if it becomes very romantic, it's near inseparable. That's a beautiful energy to be in with the Six of Cups. Certainly one of my favorites as well. Now, how about we move on to the energy of the Six of Pentacles? We have the Six of Pentacles, I associate this very heavily with the major arcana of the Justice card. Now, I mentioned earlier in one of the other videos for one of the other minor arcanas that I sometimes associate majors and minors together. In other words, this minor arcana reminds me of the Justice card. If you take a look at the left hand of this individual here, he's holding scales, just like in the Justice card. Check it out. Go back to number 11 of the Major Arcana. It's all going to be time-stamped. And when it comes down to the energy of the Six of Pentacles, it's about bringing in an equal give and take into a situation. Now, I also want to draw your attention back to the energy of the Four of Swords, which has a little bit of a stained glass. As a matter of fact, I'm going to grab it right now. I got it right here. Take a look at the Four of Swords. Right there, it's got a little bit of a stained glass right there. I'm going to show it on the bigger camera. And it looks very similar to the energy of the Six of Pentacles. So if you check out these energies, how similar they are. The Four of Swords also calls for, in a very, very small way, a Six of Pentacles energy. That's how I interpret this stained glass right here. In other words, being very, very frugal with your energy, being very methodical about your energy, being very fair with your energy is what that is. The harmony that you get out of Four of Swords comes from being fair to yourself by isolating yourself because you were giving too much, perhaps. And the energy of the Six of Pentacles certainly signifies that. When the energy is, out of balance, the Six of Pentacles signifies that a balance is necessary. Maybe someone is being very, very generous to you because you're going through a very difficult time as far as your resources are concerned. Or in the energy of the Six of Pentacles, someone's offering someone else a different workload that's more suited to their skill sets. Take it how that resonates with regards to when you're reading the Six of Pentacles. It really can be a slew of options. Again, dealing with balance, dealing with an equal give and take. That's probably the best resonating, summarized version of the Six of Pentacles. And with that, folks, now we're going to move on to the Seven. All right, folks, with the number seven in the tarot, we have an energy of, well, I call it an energy of luck and fortune and timing, so to speak. I like to associate seven as a very, very lucky number. 777 is also very lucky, like at the casinos, right? That's a classic triple seven jackpot win kind of thing. So I associate sevens with luck, fortune, fame, some sort of energy of abundance in the form of luck or some sort of fortuitous event that takes place in your energy or those around you. Now, one thing that I like to also say about the seven is that that particular energy of luck in the sevens is not necessarily portrayed in any of the sevens that make up the minor arcana, and we'll get to that in a second here. First off, let's talk about the Seven of Wands. Leo energy is highly aspected with this energy. And when we get the energy of the Seven of Wands, it talks about being on the defense, very guarded, very, very stubborn with the energy, with regards to wanting to prove your point in something. Imagine you're going back to that five of wands that we just talked about a couple chapters back, and you got your one and you're always fighting with these other people, but now you've beat them all out. you won, you got to the Six of Wands, but now they want to fight you again. And now you're like you're in a much more victorious position. You're at the top of the mountain, so to speak, because you went through a lot of recognition with the Six of Wands. But now you have to defend your throne, defend your title, defend your honor, or some things. There seems to be a lot of naysayers around this energy when the Seven of Wands shows up. So I like to associate this as a very defensive energy with regards to just standing your ground, proving your point, not backing down without a fight, so to speak, in a healthiest sense. There is a lot of competition, a lot of naysayers, a lot of folks that might not want to see the good in whatever it is you have to offer. Again, they're not in that celebration mode of the Six of Wands anymore. They're in a seven. They're wanting to get you, and you're having to defend yourself. That's how that comes across with the Seven of Wands. Again, standing your point, standing your ground, not giving up without a fight in the healthiest sense. Again, it's not about being aggressive or abusive. This is about just energy being very metaphorical, very assertive, very direct, but also being very, very passionate about what you're doing without losing your cool, folks, because you're already up in the sevens. That means that you're already traversing quite a bit and should have gained a lot of wisdom anyways. So now let's move on to the next energy, which is the Seven of Swords. Aquarius energy, very highly aspected with this energy, the way I interpret it. A lot of solar plexus energy also, I like to point out by the illustration. A lot of yellow in the background, calling out that solar plexus energy. There's also a little bit of root chakra energy. And if you look at the root chakra, it's the boots and the hat, right? That's all dark red. It's being very primal, I feel, the way that I see this energy with regards to how you're thinking and how you're moving. That's how I interpret the red hat and the boots. It's being very primal. And the reason this energy comes off as very primal is because this is more of a survivalist type of energy, the way that I interpret this. The energy of the Seven Swords is a person that is stealing swords from an army, for their own very particular survivalistic reasons. The army is camped in the background. That's depicted in the tents back here. And as the encampment is perhaps at war or at peace or whatever, they're distracted. They're not seeing that this person with the Seven of Swords is actually taking their weapons, taking their swords. Metaphorical, of course. And I'm just explaining the story behind the Seven of Swords. And when it comes down to this energy of stealing the swords, you're taking them away from the soldiers that actually are going to use them in battle. They're going to be held accountable to that for their own lives, for the well-being of their lives, or that of their friends or their fellow soldiers. And when the energy of the Seven of Swords comes along, it's like you're not really revealing what you're doing. This person is taking away the swords without revealing that he's really stealing them from the army. This this energy is generally also referred to as the liar, cheater, thief of the tarot, whereas I see it more as strategy, very cold, very calculated, very underhanded, perhaps not revealing the plans too much. So it's very secretive in nature. Again, Aquarius energy, but more in the negative sense. Whereas Aquarius is very social, very open, very talkative. This is more of the energy of the exact opposite. Saying things that are maybe not true or false, or maybe disheartening, or maybe not even talking at all, not socializing. And that's certainly what this comes across as, with regards to the Seven of Swords. Again, someone that's stealing these swords that are meant for the army, and the significance of that, the symbolism behind that, energetically means being very, very cold, calculated, being very reserved, being very strategic, not revealing your plans, being a little bit of a liar, cheater, and a little bit of a sneaky thief as well. That's also included in the energy of the Seven of Swords. So yeah, that's what that pretty much stands for. Pretty straightforward. Now we have the energy of the Seven of Cups, and with the Seven of Cups, in a nutshell, this is pretty much being spoiled for choice. If you look at the illustration, there's a lot of cups, 7 cups, right? And this person is kind of looking at them as if as if doing some sort of window shopping, right? Looking at them through some sort of fancy display at a department store. And all these options are just amazing, right? They have all sorts of amazing options. It doesn't mean that they're good, they're just amazing. One of them is a Medusa's head, right over there in the corner. You have a flying saucer, a snake. It looks like a lizard or a dragon, a crown of laurels, some jewels, and then it looks like a fortress. Seriously, I'm telling you, amazing, because how can you even make a choice from such a variety of different choices? And that's exactly what this card means. It's having so many choices, don't even know where to start. It causes so much confusion. There's just so many different options that it's even hard to make out what the right option is. So it could require a little bit of introspection, digging deep within and understanding ourselves a little bit more. Scorpio energy, by the way, is highly aspected of the Seven of Cups, which is also that, going deep within, the deep reflective type of energy, working on the shadow. And that's why it's important to work the shadow, because if we understand ourselves a little bit more, then we can also understand what the best choices are for us moving forward. But it all starts with understanding the self. Again, this wonderful journey of tarot is certainly very enlightening towards that. So just whenever you're confronted with this energy of this Seven of Cups, just remember it's about picking things wisely, making the right choice, about setting aside the confusion. The way I see this, it's also about perhaps being just very, very confused in a particular situation, with the upside that if you have faith in something, you're going to make the right choice in that something, kind of thing. So that's what I have for the Seven of Cups. Now let's move on to the energy of Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles is, Virgo, highly aspected in this energy. Virgo being the harvester of the tarot, right? The planter and farmer and the harvester. This is the one energy that is very similar and actually probably resonates best with Virgo, because this individual actually, stocked up a bunch of pile of pentacles that he or she just harvested or is about to harvest. They're even holding some sort of farmer's tool right there, maybe a shovel or some sort of pentacle pick or something to pick them off of the pentacle bush. All in all, this energy talks about having slight doubts with regards to continuing investing in something or not. In other words, do I want to continue investing my energy forward? Do I want to keep throwing money at this? Do I want to keep putting time into it? Do I want to continue putting energy into a particular task, relationship, work, a financial affair, real estate deal? Take your pick of the litter. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is you're having doubts on whether or not investing into, that's what the Seven of Pentacles represents. It's casting a little bit of doubt. It's casting a little bit of, should I continue? I've already invested so much. Is it worth it or not? And kind of having that conversation with yourself or whoever you're working with. That's the energy of the sevens, folks. Now let's move on to the energy of the eight. All right, folks, welcome back. Now we're going to talk about the eight in tarot. And well, the way that I interpret the number eight is really about balance. I really like to associate that with balance. The number eight also signifies, a lot of folks tend to interpret it, especially when it shows up in tarot readings, as the infinity symbol, right? Because it's the eight is pretty much an infinity symbol standing right up, or you can see it the other way. The infinity symbol is a number eight taking a nap. Take it as it resonates, folks. But when it comes to the eight, I see this as balance, is really being able to balance the energies in one shape or form, whether it's for good or bad, right? Because it's all about the energies are dual; they can go in either way. And well, that's generally how I interpret it whenever I see an eight. Now, how about we start with your Eight of Wands energy right here? When we see the Eight of Wands energy, this is all about fire in motion. It's about communication, perhaps. It's very fast moving energy. It's actually one of the faster moving energies in the tarot. If we're going to talk about energies, I like to associate them as vectors. They have a particular direction and a particular magnitude. In this particular energy of the Eight of Wands, the magnitude is fast. It's moving at a particular rate that is considered quick or expedient. It's fire in motion. The meaning behind the Eight of Wands is that it's eight fire arrows that are being flung into the air, and they're, well, by, depending on the illustration that you're looking at, but in this illustration with Rider Waite, they're on their way down, kind of thing. They were flung up and now they're on the way down. But in other decks, such as like the Gilded Tarot, you'll see that the Eight of Wands is actually shooting upwards in a different angle. But the point is that whenever we see the Eight of Wands, we can expect that some sort of communication is coming in, or someone wants to have a conversation, and it's going to come in quick. Now, the definition of quick is also very different than when, for example, these illustrations were first made. Back in the day, the quickness was relative to somebody on horseback, perhaps, or maybe on foot. Nowadays, quickness to us in the modern age is, an email, a phone call, some sort of a direct message on social media. So whenever I see the Eight of Wands, I can also associate that energy to the form of a delivery method that's pretty quick. Whereas nowadays, snail mail or regular, traffic mail, paper mail, that's not as fast or expedient as it was considered back, 200 years ago, whenever the illustrations were first thought up. But that's what we have with the Eight of Wands. It's just communication that's coming in fast, or just movement that's very fast in general, but it's usually associated with fast communication or an incoming message that's coming in pretty soon. Now, I want to turn your attention to the next energy of the Eight of Swords. Now, I'm gonna take a page from one of the other tarot readers that I love watching. I just can't remember the name of the tarot reader that says this. What I like to say about the Eight of Swords is that this is it's what they say is toilet paper torture. I just can't seem to remember who came up with that term, who coined it. So I can't take credit for it. No, I'll take credit for a few others that I haven't seen. Like the Four of Cups is my no thank you card. I don't think anybody else has called it that. I just call it that. But the Eight of Swords here, that's called toilet paper torture for a reason. It's because this particular individual, it's a young lady who's wrapped around in bandages, but they're not very tightly wound up. That she's actually very loosely bound, and she could very well tear off the bandages whenever she wants, and also take off the blindfold that she has over her eyes. Now, if let's say that we're just talking about the illustration right now for a minute. We'll get into what the energy is in a second here. When it comes down to the energy of the bandages themselves, if she was tied down pretty harshly, she can still walk over because her feet are not bound. Check that out. She can walk over and untie herself or cut herself free with the swords that are all around her, because they look pretty sharp and they look pretty steady, pretty sturdy right there as they're buried into the ground. They're just stuck into the ground, so they're probably not going to move much. So she could move, right? And she can actually cut herself, cut her bandages right off. Now, what I'm getting, that's all metaphorical relative to the illustration. But now, when we talk about the actual significance of the Eight of Swords, we're talking about the energy of someone that is just in their head, like no kidding. There's the feelings of anxiety, a little bit of paranoia. Maybe it's someone that just feels very anguished about something, and that is all. The way that I interpret that energy is all self-inflicted energies. I say this about the Eight, the Nine, and the Ten of Swords, which are some of the I'd say, in my opinion, nastier of the energies. It's just about being very, very, in your head about something. Whenever someone pulls the Eight of Swords, that means they've got something in their mind that they just haven't been able to shake. They're just going over it over and over and over again, perhaps without taking any action, just like the feeling of being bound, just like this. And the hoodwink, the cloth or the bandages over the eyes, that just signifies not being able to see clearly what's right in front of you. I mean, that's really the significance that I draw from the Eight of Swords. Again, more of this energy is all associated to just being just a lot of mental activity, or someone is just very anxious about something. They're overthinking it, and that's what the Eight of Swords signifies in the classic sense, in the simplest sense. Now let's move on to the Eight of Cups. Now, the Eight of Cups is all about looking at your options, your 8 cups that you have here. You're coming out of a Seven of Cups, and if you remember, we talked about the sevens. It's all about having an abundance of choice, so many choices that it could be confusing. Well, it gets to the point where perhaps you pick something, right? You add another cup and you add that into your collection of cups to add up to 8 cups. And then you're like, wait a minute, none of these really are anything that I like. And so you end up walking away from your cups, just like the illustration in this card right here. And when we talk about walking away, it's more of an emotional disconnect is how I interpret that. In other words, the Eight of Cups signifies not being able to emotionally invest in something anymore because it just doesn't resonate with whoever you're reading this energy for. So that just means they need to reinvest their love, their affection, their emotions, their feelings elsewhere. And that's what this person is walking towards. If you look at, they're not just walking away from the 8 cups that are here, they're walking towards something better. They're walking towards the horizon. They're walking in a whole different direction. And that's what the Eight of Cups signifies, is walking away from things that don't serve your higher good and walking into something that will really satisfy those feelings and emotions, really bring in happiness, content, being content with love and life. And that's the energy that's coming in as the successor to the Eight of Cups. And we'll get into that with the nines in a second. Now let's move on to the Eight of Pentacles. I like to call this my cobbler of the tarot. Just like some people have a particular description for the Eight of Swords as the toilet paper torture, right? I call the Eight of Pentacles my cobbler or shoemaker or pentacle maker, more specifically. The Eight of Pentacles talks about someone who is just very focused on the details of a particular project or some endeavor, some situation. It's usually pentacle energy. It's usually about the energy of just being very, it's all in the 3D. It's something very tangible. It doesn't necessarily have to resonate with feelings or ideas, but it could, depending on the surrounding cards or energies that make up the rest of the spread if you're reading for someone. And when I see the Eight of Pentacles, it's just someone that's very heavily focused on details. They're looking at the fine print. They're putting the finishing touches on their own, their own Michelangelo type of a painting, or their Mona Lisa from Da Vinci. I guess the Michelangelo reference would be to the Sistine Chapel, right? Or David's Michelangelo. Yeah. I think I said that backwards. Michelangelo's David, right? The statue of David. But anyways, this is the energy of just putting a lot of detail into something and just figuring out that by paying attention to the details, you can really perfect your craft. And that's this Eight of Pentacles feeling. And now let's go over some of the zodiacal signs before we move on to our next energy. With regards to the Eight of Wands, that's usually something I attribute with Sagittarius energy. The energy of the Eight of Swords, Gemini. The energy of the Eight of Cups is Scorpio, and the Eight of Pentacles is Virgo, is the way that I associate that. Well, with that, that's been the lesson for the number 8, or the 8 in tarot. And, well, how about we move on to the 9? All right, folks, let's now talk about the 9 in tarot. And when I associate the number 9, let's just talk about the number first. I associate the number 9, the angel number 9, with the energy of release, letting go of things that really don't serve our higher purpose, our intentions towards our manifestations. It's letting go of all that extra energy that really doesn't serve our greater good. And that really, that type of a realization of what the greater good is for each one of us requires a lot of self-discovery, a lot of self-reflection. If you go back all the way back to the energy of the Major Arcana and go to the Hermit, that's a number 9, right? That's exactly what that means, is going in through self-discovery, reflection, building up the self-confidence, and then finally understanding that we can become much wiser based on the experiences that we go through. That's that hermit energy in the number 9. And well, with the number 9s that are present here in the minor arcana, it's very similar in certain regards. But just don't forget, when we talk about nines, mainly it's about release, especially releasing things that don't serve our greater good. Now let's start with the energy of the 9 of Wands. When I see the 9 of Wands, this one is affectionately known as, throughout a lot of different readers, I myself included, I refer to this as the wounded warrior of the tarot. This is someone that's been through battle. This is someone that's been through it all, right? This is someone that has not given up the fight either. Even though they've been through it, they're not giving up. When I see the 9 of Wands, I also associate this with having some sort of boundaries, lifted up somewhere. One thing that I like to say, and I haven't heard many other tarot readers say this, so I'm just going to coin it. The way that I interpret this, and I've said it in my own readings, 9 of Wands, it's not only the wounded warrior energy, it's also the feeling of being burned before and not wanting to be burned again. It's like learning the lesson from being burned. And it's wand energy, so it's an appropriate saying because wands are all about that fire energy. So I get this energy and I immediately feel that someone has been burned before and they're coming out of that experience a lot wiser. Again, number 9, wisdom, inner healing, inner introspection. And it's all about, just because of that learning and that experience, they now feel that they need to put up boundaries and protect their energy a little bit more. That's what I'm getting mostly with the 9 of Wands. That's how I usually interpret that. It has many other meanings as well, but that's kind of the quick and dirty of it, so to speak. Now let's see what we have for the next energy of the 9 of Swords. Now, if you watch the eights, I like to say this about the 8 of Swords, the 9 of Swords, and the 10 of Swords. Those are all self-inflicted energies. In other words, it's all about mental duress, mental activity that we just don't let go of. It's just being in your thoughts over and over again over something. It's perhaps, with the eights, it's all about feeling a little bit of anxiety and anguish. Now with the nines, the 9 of Swords specifically, this is a person that just woke up from a nightmare, and see how they're kind of just putting their hands to their face, and really just kind of sloping over, and just really just feel it's the immediate reaction when I see a picture like this without knowing anything about tarot is that this person is some form of despair, and that really is resonating heavily whenever I see this energy of the 9 of Swords. Now the 9 of Swords, what it's meant to represent, yes, it is despair, but it's despair from a nightmare that doesn't seem to end, is where I'm going with that. It's like you wake up from a nightmare, and all of a sudden, it's like, wait a minute, the nightmare hasn't ended. It's because you still haven't finished thinking about it. It's like you're thinking about something so much that it makes it into your subconscious and your unconscious mind in your dreams, and then you wake up and you're still thinking about it. That's that energy that comes across in the 9 of Swords. So whenever you're reading for someone or for yourself and you see this energy, that's really what that means. It's something you really need to let go and just kind of, get past that nightmare, so to speak. The other thing I want to point out about the 9 of Swords, it's self-inflicted to a certain degree, but there is an impact from the environment. It's other people influencing, or other circumstances or situation that are influencing you to be in this state. So usually when folks are in the 9 of Swords, it's because there's something else that's got them in this particular predicament, in this particular nightmare scenario. Again, there is a choice to just let it go, right? Just not feel that it's going to impact you as the reader, or if you're reading for your current. It doesn't have to impact them if they choose not to have it impact them. So that's how I interpret this. It's very self-inflicted, and it's related to our reactions and our responses to the environment, and how they can affect our mental stability is kind of how or our mental energy, more likely, is how I read the 9 of Swords. Now, how about we move on to the 9 of Cups? The 9 of Cups talks about just being in a total emotional bliss type of thing. See, this person right here is one that is just very happy, content. They got all sorts of cups in the background, but they got a little bit of a smirk there. And this is because this person is extremely happy. The depiction on the nine of cups is specifically someone that is fulfilling their dreams, fulfilling their wishes, is how I interpret this. It's someone that is just going after their happiness. You're coming out of that eight of cups energy, which is pretty much putting aside eight cups that really didn't work for you. But then again, you move on to something better, and then you end up finding it as you're on this. If you're on this cup energy, you go from the eight to the nine. You finally find some situation, some person, some connection, some energy out there that really resonates with your happiness. And that's what this Nine of Cups is all about. I love combinations, for example, like the Nine of Cups and the Star energy. If we go back to number 17 in the Major Arcana, the Star, if you combine those two energies, that I almost immediately interpret as a wish upon a star coming true kind of thing. So that's the type of feel that we get from the Nine of Cups. I get really excited when I see Nine of Cups energy. Now, what about the next energy of Pentacles? We have Nine of Pentacles right here depicted in this energy. Now, I mentioned in some of the other energies that I associate certain minor arcana energies with the major arcanas themselves. The Nine of Pentacles is one such energy that I associate immediately with the Empress energy, number 3 in the tarot. Which, by the way, number 3 is a multiple of 9, right? You can divide 9 3 times and get 3 again. So there's a beautiful synchronicity right there on that front as well. Not only that, but the Empress, as we talked about earlier, it's also depicted as Taurus and Libra energy. So it has a little bit of that energy of Earth. And Pentacle energy is all about Earth, although we'll talk about the signs in a second. When it comes down to the Nine of Pentacles, it's about being fully independent on something, not depending on anyone or anything, just being very resourceful, being, having paid so much attention to details from the Eight of Pentacles, having gone through such rigorous detail, a lot of work, a lot of hard work, a lot of investment of time, energy, and effort, that you finally can just reap the rewards and just enjoy life and just be very, very confident and feeling that independence of your financial in the financial sense altogether. I also like how in most of the energies of the Nine of Pentacles, the lady that's depicted here is holding a bird. And what I like to say about that is that birds are very free to do whatever they want, yet this bird chooses to sit on this individual's hand, signifying that you can choose to just stay where you are and be very happy and content, or you can actually fly away and do something else, whatever it is that floats your boat, to perhaps take you into the Ten of Pentacles, is how I interpret that. It's also, because this is Earth energy with the Pentacles, I also highly associate this with things like nature walks and being in tune with nature, precisely because of that connection with the bird, and the lady has a bird in hand. Again, there's also a lot of grapes around this. If you check out like all the different grapes and different, that usually signifies life and abundance in other forms as well. As far as the symbology, so there's a lot of that beautiful energy of being very radiant, very poised, very confident. It's all that what's known as pre-Empress energy coming very strongly from the Nine of Pentacles. And that's usually how that's interpreted in most of the reads, and how I learned how to interpret it. Well, folks, that's what I have for the nines. How about we move on to the 10? I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Moving on to the 10. All right, everyone, welcome back to now the instruction on the tens. At least my interpretation of how the tens are, just like the all the other numbers. The 10 is a very interesting number because it doesn't usually show up in most of the angel number references. But I associate the number 10 as a number that is all about fortune, fame, and destiny. It's some sort of fate related to destiny. It could be related to fortune because of the connection with the Wheel of Fortune, which is number 10 in the Major Arcana. So I associate the tens as very lucky numbers, but also very divinely timed numbers as well. It's like they're meant to happen. Now, in the Minor Arcana, the 10 also signifies a completion of that suit in general, the cycle in that suit. Because after the 10, we can restart over to the ace, right? Whether it's the ace of wands or swords or whatnot. And so when it comes down to it, just remember number 10, again, it's all about that fate, destiny type of an energy, very, very strongly resonating with the Wheel of Fortune. And it's also about completing cycles so you can have a brand new, wonderful beginning in something else, as illustrated with the aces. So how about we dive right in with the first card right here of the 10 of Wands. I really like this energy because it gives us, the way that I interpret this, everything is choice. But the 10 of Wands gives us a very clear-cut choice about something. The depiction here is an individual that's holding 10 wands and they're kind of looking down, so they can't really see in front of them, and they're kind of just having faith that they're going to reach the finish line of the destination, which is this village in the background right here. Now, what is it that they're carrying specifically? They're carrying a lot of baggage. That's what those 10 wands signify. There's a lot of work that's being put into just carrying this heavy load of stuff into the village or whatever destination is destined for this individual. And when it comes down to it, I mentioned there's two very specific choices. When it comes down to the 10 of Wands, I draw two different choices. The first one being you can keep on going and finish it, complete the cycle of the tens so you can start something brand new with the Ace of Wands, or stop and just drop all your wands and give up, because this energy signifies exhaustion. It can also signify being overburdened, being overwhelmed, being, just wanting to give up entirely. So I give it a little bit of a double meaning, but really the main definition, or the classic definition, is mainly revolving around being overburdened, overstressed, overworked perhaps, and you're just about ready to give up is kind of what I'm getting when the 10 of Wands comes out. Now, let's go into the 10 of Swords. The 10 of Swords, and I'm going to repeat what I said for the 8 and the 9. So it's going to sound like a broken record, but the 8, the 9, and the 10 of Swords are all self-inflicted energies, the way that I interpret that, because we have choice as to whether be in that mental duress or mental stress, if at all, right? We can choose to be in that energy or not. We can choose to let people's opinions or their attitudes affect our energies, like the Nine of Swords, and maybe you'll get us into this nightmare scenario, and it's up to us to get out of that scenario if we so choose to. Now, with the 10 of Swords, this is a little bit different than the 8 and the 9, in the sense that this person right here has been stabbed with 10 swords and is down for the count right there. You can see it's kind of a morbid type of depiction right there, with a little bit of blood, rolling into that river right there. What I get ultimately out of this 10 of Swords is the main definition behind it is feeling having been betrayed, some sort of past betrayal, or some sort of betrayal that you're going through right now, if at all, whoever the reader is, or the querent, the energy of just being extremely betrayed. Now, the good thing that I see about the 10 of Swords is that we have the choice to pluck those swords out and use them as fuel to the fire, so to speak. In other words, it's a way of saying, I'm not going to be let down. I'm not going to be defeated. I'm going to take these swords out. I'm going to get my rear end right back up again, and I'm going to keep on going. That's the energy that I get with the 10 of Swords. Even if things feel like a betrayal, it's the end of the cycle. It's no more betrayal from here on out, is what I get out of the 10 of Swords whenever I see that. So keep that in mind. It all comes down to choice. And I like to reiterate that over and over again with the 8, the 9, and the 10 of Swords, because they seem to be some of the more complicated and more painful of the energies. Now, how about we jump into the energy of the 10 of Cups? With the 10 of Cups, this is the wonderful follow-on to the 9 of Cups. We talked about how the 9 of Cups is all about that wish fulfillment, or feeling like you're just in this total emotional bliss, feeling like you have it all kind of thing. That's the energy of the 9 of Cups. With the 10 of Cups, it's the feeling of having it all and also being able to share that with other people that you very much aspire to, love, or are very close with. This is, if you can see the depiction here, it looks like a wonderful, beautiful four-person family, two kids that it looks like these two. This is a man and that's a boy. They're kind of dressed the same, and this is a woman and that's a girl. They also seem to be dressed the same, and they're overlooking a valley that's looking at their. They're looking at their house. They're looking at a wonderful river, a beautiful landscape right there, and there's also a rainbow depicted on the Rider Waite depiction. And actually, most of the, if I remember right, most of the depictions also have some sort of a rainbow to them. And in other words, it's like feeling like just this emotional fulfillment, emotional bliss, beautiful energy of just a lot of love, and also wanting to share and express that love outwardly towards others, especially if it's family members. This can also talk about the union of a family coming in together in union and really sharing everything together and living that wonderful, beautiful life together. That wonderful energy of a happy ending, so to speak, because this is again a completion of the cycle, and on to starting something brand new with the Ace of Cups later. But when it comes down to the Ten of Cups, this is also one of my favorite energies to see. It's very positive, very jovial, very energetic, very heartfelt, and that's really what this Ten of Cups is meant to signify. Now let's move on to the wonderful Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles, if you can see we talked a little bit about it in the energy of the Nine of Pentacles. You see this person is on a throne or wearing a robe that's got a lot of grapes on it, signifying a lot of abundance. There's also a lot of people here that are kind of talking shop, perhaps. So when I see the Ten of Pentacles, I see this as a very successful business, a successful business idea or venture, or something that's just paying off a lot of dividends, a long-term investment, a long-term commitment if this is related to relationships. If you pair this up with, say, a Two of Cups, right, and all of a sudden a Ten of Pentacles show up, that's like a match made in heaven that's meant to go the distance. Or maybe a Hierophant and the Ten of Pentacles. That can also signify some sort of a marriage or strong proposal into a very long-term commitment. But it doesn't always have to be marriage. It could be a long-term investment in career, in money, in anything that really has a tangible sense. A contract that's going to just provide you with a lot of profit or dividends, or some sort of investment that's just going to have huge profits. This is the energy of just having a ton of money, legacy wealth, or an inheritance as well. That's how this energy of the Ten of Pentacles is highly aspected. Let's jump into some of the astrology signs real quick before we leave. I get a lot of Sagittarius from the energy of the Ten of Wands, Gemini from the Ten of Swords, Scorpio from the Ten of Cups, and Virgo from the Ten of Pentacles. And well, with that, folks, how about we move on to the court cards now? All right, folks. So now we've gone through the entire Minor Arcana and just the numbers for now. But the Minor Arcana also consists of something known as the court cards. The court cards are they're interesting energies because they define personality traits. They can describe people in your environment, like they are actually interpreted as people, or the energy of the querent or the reader. That can be interpreted in any of the court cards. And very similarly to the numerology in the minor arcana and the major arcana, where there's a progression in numbers, there is a progression in the court cards as well. There's a particular, what I call, hierarchy. Starting with the lowest one, we have the pages, then we have the knights, then we have the queens, and then finally the kings at the top of the throne here. The queen and the king of any suit really can be very similar energies. They're meant to represent the divine masculine and feminine, so they can have an equal balance right there. An equal. There's not necessarily a pecking order, I'd say, between the king and the queen. So I kind of see them as kind of the equal type of an energy, but I'm just laying them out as a illustration, as there's different types of energies. Now, in general, let's start with the pages before we dive into the kings and queens here. Let's start with the lower aspect of the energy. When it comes down to the page, this is known as a very curious entity, personality. or maybe someone that just is representing somebody very young in your energy, a child or someone just younger than you, relatively. It doesn't matter, and it's just someone that is just very very new at the experiences of life, experiences relative to understanding things. They're just getting their feet wet in this wonderful adventure we call life. And they're very very curious. They might be a little bit naive, very sweet, very innocent type of an energy when we get pages. Now, let's move on to the energy of the knight. The knight, and actually the page as well, they're both messengers on behalf of the king and the queen. But the knight specifically has that purpose to just deliver some form of a message. Like, no kidding. The pages do as well, but it's not as formal and it's not as perhaps swift as or experienced as the knight. The knight has a lot more experience. They know how to ride. They've been through the trials and tribulations of knighthood. They've probably been, if metaphorically, they've got some sort of a blessing from the king or the queen to have some sort of a little bit of authority, so to speak, to deliver messages. And that's where the knights come in. They're meant to be also either fast or slow moving energies, depending on the type of knight that's pulled. And we'll get into that into the discussion of the knights. But when it comes to the knights, they're just messengers. They're delivering something. They're coming in either fast or slow, and it's meant to be just that, really, just messenger energy. Now I think about it, I think it's going to be better explained when we move into the next lesson. Now, with the energy of the queen in general, the queen is one of the most beautiful energies. Any of the queens are just absolutely beautiful. They all represent the divine feminine in any way, shape, or form. And as a matter of fact, the four queens together make up our number three in the Major Arcana, the Empress, as it's commonly interpreted. So any piece of the Empress can be broken up into these four queens that we have. Now, the queen is again the divine feminine, highly aspected. It's an energy source that's very very intuitive in nature, very empathic, has a lot of perhaps doesn't jump into action right away. Maybe gives things a little bit more forethought, not so much impulsivity. And it's also an energy of also being very very loving and caring and generous and affectionate towards others in the environment. Again, this represents a person, so whenever I see a queen, it could represent a divine feminine figure in an energy, or some sort of a close relationship to a maybe a motherly figure or someone that's superior and wise with regards to the feminine energy itself. Now, the king itself is it's not meant to be the culmination, but that's usually how they're depicted. The king usually comes after the queen, and then we start another suit. The king is very centered, perhaps not as affectionate. They're very cold, they're very calculated. Most kings are very strategic. They're not kings for nothing, right? They had to earn their kingdom by just either conquering other kingdoms or just fighting their way to the top, so to speak, and really building a name for themselves. And that's why they're also very cold, calculated, and very strategic, because they've withstood the test of time. They're very experienced. They're the most seasoned of all the energies, in my opinion. I mentioned this about the queens and the empress earlier. Very similarly to that, all four kings are the culminate into the emperor energy as well. So you get another of that similarity with the major arcana that we did with the queens. It also is meant to represent the divine masculine in any situation. So this could be someone that resonates very heavily with that energy. It could be a fatherly figure or someone that just has a lot of masculine energy, and they're usually very serious. They can be impulsive also, especially the King of Wands. We'll get into that, folks. But they're very, very assertive, very calculated. What they do is very intentional, is what I wanted to say there. They do things with very, very specific intentions, and it's usually to build their kingdom up even more. It could be more of a self-serving energy as opposed to the queen, which is more outwardly serving others. So that's usually what I interpret in form of the king of or in the kings in general. I was just reading the card here. It really just comes across as just someone that is just very centered, very emotionally stable, perhaps. Someone that just knows exactly what they want, they know how to get it, and they build it up and keep building on top of that. So that's what I kind of interpret as the king and all these other court cards. How about we dive right into each and individual one and explore them even further? All right, folks. Now we are on the page. Thank you very much for being on the same page. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a dad and I have terrible dad jokes. Anyways, now that we're on the page is also referred to in other tarot decks that I've noticed as the princess or some other type of terminology that signifies someone that's a little bit younger or is related to the king and the queen in some form or fashion. Now, I interpret the pages as messenger energies, but they're much more informal than the knights, and we'll talk about the knights here shortly in the next chapter. But when it comes to the pages, these are very curious energies. They're folks that are out on an adventure. They want to explore life. They want to understand more about life and experiences, and they want to gain that experience and grow up eventually to become kings and queens themselves. Now, as the first energy here with the Page of Wands, I associate the Page of Wands very heavily with the Fool energy. This is kind of one of those mappings that I do between Minor Arcana and Major Arcana. The Page of Wands is very similar to the Fool energy, and if you go back to the very first energy in the Major Arcana, the Fool, we talked a little bit about how the Fool is very carefree. They're carrying a knapsack. They want to start a new adventure. They have a little dog with them, etc. The Page of Wands is just as carefree, just as impulsive, just as curious, but they're not exactly prepared. And that's where that energy can kind of come into being very impulsive without the right consideration towards the consequences. That's what comes in whenever I read the Page of Wands. So we get a little bit of that full energy, but we also get the energy of perhaps a little bit of irresponsibility, is what I'm getting with the Page of Wands. It could be someone that is also very focused on new adventures, new passions, new beginnings with regards to some sort of exciting new endeavor, and that's generally associated again with that's throwing caution to the wind and just going for it kind of an energy. Again, a little bit impulsive, but that's what the Page of Wands does. Now let's move on to the Page of Swords. I usually associate the Page of Swords with something that I call my nosy Nelly or the gossip column of the tarot. The thing with the Page of Swords, and he gets kind of a bad rap too. If he or she, it doesn't matter. It's not about gender. The Page of Swords gets a little bit of a bad rap in tarot because they ask too many questions. They can come across as a spy in the energy. Some tarot readers associate this with a spycraft type of a card, where they're just maybe stalking someone, or they're just stalking them on social media, for instance, or just asking them a lot of questions via text or email without stopping, without being content or satisfied with the responses. They just keep on doing it. And well, with the Page of Swords, it's not that the way that I interpret the Page of Swords, it's not out of malice necessarily. The thing is with the Page of Swords, they just want to, again, page energy. They want to learn more about life. They just want to learn about whatever it is that's going on in their world. They want to understand with their minds. They have a lot of ideas, but they're not organized in an experienced fashion. They want to know more about life in order to be able to provide grow up themselves and have better insight, and ultimately grow up to be that king and queen as well. With the Page of Swords, this could be someone that's just very, very, very nosy as well. They come across as very nosy. This is someone that's just very inquisitive, because they're, again, very curious about whatever it is that's going on in the surrounding environment. Now, this doesn't mean something bad, again, necessarily. That's all, good or bad, that's all relative. What it means is just someone that just asks a lot of questions. They're very curious. They want to learn more. And that can come across, because they're young, it can come across as someone that is inexperienced with communication. Maybe the way they're asking questions can be irritating to others. And that's sometimes that the pitfall that the Page of Swords falls into, but it's also part of the learning experience, because ultimately when they become a king or a queen of swords, they're going to be very elegant, eloquent, very fluid. They're going to be very poised with their audience, and they're going to be excellent public speakers, so to speak. So this is that training that the page is going through with regards to communicating with others, is the way that I see that. Now we have the Page of Cups. Now, I loosely associate the Page of Cups with Tower energy. And what I mean with about that, number 16 in the Major Arcana, what I mean by that is the fact that this page, by the way, is very sweet, very, very naive, very innocent, but the page is carrying a fish inside of the cup. Now, why is that relevant, folks? Because the cup is a surprise. When the page picked up the cup, it had no idea that there was a fish inside of it. And so it stops and contemplates the fish a little bit, which is a little bit of a surprise. So I call this kind of a minor arcana to these tower card, but it's not really as life-changing as the tower would be. The tower is a huge intervention of the universe, whereas the Page of Cups is just someone that's coming in maybe with a sweet offer. Maybe they're coming in with an apology or some sort of gift for you, or a love offer, or maybe just a simple hello, how you doing? And when you come across a Page of Cups, you might not even expect it. That's that surprise element, that they're coming in and unexpectedly, all of a sudden you have a new friend, or maybe they're giving you a box of chocolates and they want to, take you out on a date or something. But it's very sweet, very naive, and very innocent. So they might not be well in tune with understanding the energies of others quite yet. That's part of what they're learning as part of their emotional development. They're learning how to be more empathic, more in tune with other people's feelings, and really practicing more empathy. But they're not quite there yet. They're still in that page energy, which is just not really the energy of being mature with regards to the feelings. There's a little bit of immatureness going on here. So maybe the way they approach people with love is just like it's too infantile. It's not very serious, is how it comes across. Again, younger energies with the pages, so that's why I feel it might be more infantile in the healthiest sense, right? I'm not trying to insult anyone here. I'm just describing the energies, folks. The Page of Cups is also an energy of being very, very, very sweet and innocent. So you might be offering friendship to someone with this energy, or someone's offering it to you. But that's what that Page of Cups really entails when I interpret that energy, is some sort of surprise that's coming in from someone that really wants to chat with you. Again, more messenger energy. They want to chat, they want to communicate with you, they want to express how they feel. But they just don't know how, or they're having difficulty doing it. They might even be very, very shy in doing that. All right, so now let's move on to the Page of Pentacles. The Page of Pentacles is the studious one of the tarot, I'd say. This is the one energy out of all the other energies that almost literally signifies, or metaphorically, take it how it resonates, someone that's picking up a book or some new class in school, and they're studying up on something brand new that they perhaps have never done before, or they're expanding on to become much more experienced. This is the energy of someone that is just very curious about learning more about life in every sense of the word. It could be, learning about, I don't know, something related to a career, or learning more about, I don't know, cars, or learning more about how to build up finances. But it's not immediately associated to relationships with other people. The Page of Pentacles is really more related to the 3D, to the pentacle energy, and the energy of just wanting to discover or learn about something brand new in the 3D world, something that's tangible, something that will help build a sense of financial independence or financial abundance. But this page is still learning about how to do all that. So that's why I associate the Page of Pentacles as a student type of an energy. They're still learning quite a bit about life. They're learning a lot in school still, perhaps, or they're enrolling in school to learn something new. It's someone that's young enough to just go ahead and just start their journey from scratch if they wanted to, in order to build a much more lucrative empire or kingdom. but it's very, very young energy. They're just starting off. They're just building these pentacles from scratch, and they're building it from nothing practically. They only have one pentacle in front of them, and that's the one that they're going to use to carry them forward. So that's what we have for the pages, folks. Thank you so much once again. Now, how about we move on to the energy of the night? All right, folks, we are now at the knight in the court cards of the Minor Arcana. Now, the knight, as I mentioned earlier, is a messenger on behalf of the king and the queen, or the queen. And the message is really relative to the different suits that are coming in, but they also provide a little bit more than just messages, uh, you know, metaphorical or literal messages from the king or queen. They also bring in other insights as well that we'll get into. But the main takeaway from the knights is that they're messengers. They are in motion, most of them. They have a particular, what I call, magnitude, and they also come in a particular direction as well. So I associate the knights with more of a vector type of an energy, something with direction and magnitude more specifically, because each one of these can be associated with a particular speed based on the type of suit that they're carrying. And let's get into what that means. The first energy, the energy of the Knight of Wands, talks about the energy of fire in motion. This is very similar to the Eight of Wands, except the Eight of Wands is if you go back to the lesson of the Eight of Wands is just shooting a bunch of fire arrows into the air, and they just kind of land randomly somewhere. With the Knight of Wands, it's not that type of fire in motion. This is someone, a messenger that is bringing in a message that is pretty hot. In other words, kind of a hot potato type of a feel. They have to drop it. They have to come in and just leave this message with you, and then just rush away. The energy of the Knight of Wands is also highly aspected with someone that is not open to commitment. This is a very also known as very promiscuous type of an energy. Someone that doesn't want to commit in a relationship. They like sleeping around, things of that nature, and they're also they're also carrying fire in the desert. It's like where's your cup of water, buddy? I mean, aren't you gonna you're gonna die of thirst or something? And that's really what this energy kind of signifies about the impulsivity, about just jumping into something without a care in the world. Again, without really committing to a particular goal. They just come in, they rush in, and then they rush out just as fast. That's the Knight of Wands for you, folks. Someone that is just unreliable. Unfortunately, you never know when they're going to come in, but when they do, it's just very fast and short lived. Now, how about the Knight of Swords? Again, another messenger, this time on behalf of the King or the Queen of Swords. And this one I associate with more of a town crier type of an energy. Someone that has a very specific purpose, which is to deliver a very specific message to whoever it is intended to. They're coming in just as fast as the Knight of Wands, not as fast, but close to it. They're a little bit slower than the Knight of Wands, but they're still coming in pretty fast, and they're also leaving just as fast. The message that they're bringing in is more along the lines of just speaking their truth or saying something, communicating this to someone. It could be related to some sort of a email blast to a group of people, or some sort of message online to a group of folks all together. That could come across as that. The Knight of Swords is also the bearer of good or bad news, right? Kind of like a newspaper or some sort of media outlet kind of thing. So that's what I get with the Knight of Swords generally. And well, again, it's also not very heavy on commitment. The only commitment they have that's very, very strict is delivering the message, and that's it. It doesn't matter if they stick around to see your reaction. The Knight of Swords has many other messages to deliver, so as soon as they deliver the message to you, they're just as fast going to leave and go on to the next message that they're due to deliver. Now, let's move on to the Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups is the energy of someone that I consider is either a helpless romantic, or someone that is coming in perhaps with an apology, or someone that is just coming in and saying, that they have certain regrets, or that they just want to express their love very openly to you. The thing with the Knight of Cups is that yes, they are reliable with regards to coming into the coming into the energy with regards to their arrival. However, they might be taking their time a little bit on this, because what I like to say about the Knight of Cups is, again, that helpless romantic type of an energy. They're very much in their feels. They wear their heart on their sleeve, and as they're riding through the countryside, they might stop and contemplate a little bit and enjoy the scenery. They're all about their feels, so they really enjoy the environment that they're in. They enjoy the ride and the journey as much as the destination they're headed to. So that's type of energy that comes across with the Knight of Cups. Again, a very heartfelt type of an energy and a message that comes in with a lot of love, or maybe a regret, or maybe an apology of some sort. And that's usually what the Knight of Cups is centered around with regards to the energy. It's going to arrive. It just needs some time to get there. It might not be as fast. It's certainly not as fast as the Knight of Wands or Swords, but it certainly is getting there. I also want to highlight the energy of all these different. You see how he's wearing like wings on his boots and on his helmet. And what I like to say about that is being just very carefree about their feelings, is how they express them. It's almost like flying away with their feelings. That's kind of how the Knight of Cups, how I approach that. They're very into their feelings, so they can get carried away by their feelings as well. Again, the helpless romantic, all they want is love, or they want to apologize, or they want to just come in and just offer this cup of love, or maybe a box of chocolates or a dozen roses or something. That's the energy that I get from that Knight of Cups. Someone that just seriously wants to get your attention in the best sense. But then again, they're messenger energies, so they're coming in on behalf of a king or a queen. So you're not really even talking to the right person if the message is on behalf of one of those two. If you want to cut out the middleman, then you got to skip through the night and go straight to one of the other court cards. So that's the Knight of Cups in a nutshell for you folks. Now, how about this Knight of Pentacles? Well, we talked about how all the energies, especially the knights, have a particular magnitude to them. In this case, speed. The energy of the Knight of Pentacles is well known across every single tarot reader that I've been to, or worked with, or seen on YouTube or anywhere else. This is the slowest moving energy out of the entire deck. The fastest would probably be the Chariot. The slowest one is the Knight of Pentacles. This is the one energy that could take their time, and I mean snail's pace kind of a time. If you're expecting some sort of a message from a Knight of Pentacles, imagine this being a letter in the mail, right? It's a lot slower nowadays than just getting it via email or text or some other faster messaging system. So this would be more associated with that type of a relationship as far as the speed is concerned. This is the comparison I'm drawing is electric communication through email or text or direct messages online versus snail mail that could take days or weeks to arrive in your mailbox. That's kind of the energy of the Knight of Pentacles, is that snail mail type of feel in comparison to the other energies. The one thing that I really enjoy about the Knight of Pentacles, well, I enjoy all the energies, but one thing that I really enjoy about this one in particular is its reliability. The Knight of Pentacles is yeah, engineering can take forever. Like my engineering career went at a snail's pace. That's what I wanted to say. The Knight of Pentacles here is the energy of someone that's just taking their time getting to their destination, but they are very determined to get there, and they are reliable enough to get there. You can count on the Knight of Pentacles showing up when they're supposed to show up. They're probably very slow at first, but that's because they're taking care of that pentacle very carefully, making sure that it arrives to its destination. And once they're there, they're probably going to stick around and take their time coming back to the king and queen as well. I don't get a very rushed energy when it comes down to the Knight of Pentacles like this Knight of Swords. Again, this is the energy of just having something very tangible, very real being delivered to you. It could take time for it to manifest. However, you can bet that it will get there. It's just a matter of time and perhaps a little bit of patience in that one. Folks, well, that's what I have for the Knights. I hope you enjoyed that. And, well, with that, let's move on now to the energy of the Queens. All right, folks, welcome back now to the energy of the Queen. The Queen, the Divine Feminine. My goodness, look how beautiful our Queens look right here in front of us. They're all about the Divine Feminine. They're all about expressing empathy, intuition, a lot of generosity in their feelings or their resources in any way, shape, or form. This is someone that is also very eloquent, very poised. It can represent a motherly figure in the energy or someone that you admire as a divine feminine. Let's start with the energy of the Queen of Wands, my absolute favorite queen, because I associate each queen with a particular zodiacal sign, and I associate the Queen of Wands with Aries energy exclusively. Now, if you go back to the energy of the Queen of Wands, if you look at the King and the Page and the Knight of Wands, if you go back to those, you'll see that the different suits, the different wands, court cards, they're wearing a yellow tunic, just like the Queen is right here. However, hers is plain, right? There's nothing on it. If you look at the other ones, they have polka dots, or it looks like polka dots, but they're actually salamanders that are printed on on her, on the energy of the king, the page, and the knight of wands. And those salamanders are meant to provide protection from getting burnt. The salamanders of myth. Well, it's a real creature, but in mythology, in some spiritual belief systems, the salamander is believed to be protection from fire or from being burned or from heat. The thing with the Queen of Wands is the energy of, she's not wearing these salamanders on her tunic, which pretty much means she's not afraid of getting burned. She knows and has confidence in herself that she's not going to get burned, even if she walks through fire, kind of thing. She is the fire queen. She's extremely, extremely confident, very poised, very intuitive queen as well. She also holds a sunflower in her hand, which signifies her happiness. Now, if we go back to all the other tarot energies we've already seen, that really leaves us with only one other energy out there that has sunflowers depicted on it, and that is the sun energy. Those are the only two cards, the Queen of Wands and the Sun, in the Rider-Waite that show sunflowers on them. Again, happiness, extreme bliss, fulfillment. She is always after her happiness. She's always looking for that. She's always about feeling good, and she's the type of queen that will walk into I don't know, anywhere, a store or a theater or a bar or whatever. Wherever the Queen of Wands goes, she gets everybody's attention. Everybody's like, whoa, whoa, who is that? They really want to get to know her. They really love her confidence that she's just exuding outward. It's just one of those energies that's just very poised and again resonating very heavily with a lot of love as well. She loves life, loves to be passionate. Her relationship with the King of Wands is usually very tumultuous. It's one of those love-hate relationships, so to speak, but they always manage to resonate together in the end. They love and are very passionate towards each other very, very heavily, and they're ultimately inseparable is what it comes down to, even though they might fight a lot. Perhaps if you ever get a in your readings, if you ever get a king and queen of wands pair showing up in a read, that could be a couple that is on rocky terms, but they always manage to get back together because they just have such a strong passionate affinity towards each other, especially as a divine masculine and feminine of the same suit. They really resonate on that energy very nicely. So that's the kind of a nutshell what's going on with the Queen of Wands. Now, how about we move on to the Queen of Swords? The Queen of Swords is also affectionately known, or I refer to her as the Ice Queen. Aquarius is usually what's associated with Queen of Swords, but I associate it exclusively with Libra. And that's because of the energy of the sword that she's carrying. If you go back to the energy of the Justice card, number 11, in the Major Arcana, the Justice energy is holding up a sword in the right hand, just like the Queen of Swords is right here. She is holding up that Ace of Truth, the Ace of Swords in her hand, and she's also extending out her hand like this, the Queen of Swords. You can see that the Queen of Swords is holding out her hand. And what that hand is supposed to signify is like, well, here, you can take my advice or I'm going to chop your head off kind of thing with the other hand. So that's usually what that coldness about the Queen of Swords comes with. Libra energy, again, very highly aspected when I see the Queen of Swords. The energy of just being very cold, calculated, very direct, and also being very focused in something. You're as a Queen of Swords, you're also very well spoken, very eloquent, also extremely intelligent. A very high degree of intelligence comes with the King and the Queen of Swords. We'll get to the King in a second. When it comes down to the Queen of Swords, she could be related. She could also be in a profession or some sort of career that has to do with things that are very intellectual or require a lot of intellect, a lot of studying, so to speak, a lot of years hitting the books, so to speak. This could be associated with doctors or healthcare providers or folks that resonate with maybe with therapy. Someone that is well versed in talking with others, but also shows a heavy display of empathy when doing so. So she's also very relatable to other people. However, if you cross the Queen of Swords, forget it. I mean, you're not going to hear from her ever again, is what I get from a Queen of Swords that's been wronged somehow. She's confident enough and smart enough to not entertain energies that don't serve her higher purpose. So whenever we're reading the Queen of Swords, that's usually what comes out as those messages. Just keep that in mind. Now let's move on to the Queen of Cups. I associate the Queen of Cups heavily with Pisces energy, by the way, folks. And when I see the Queen of Cups depicted in this illustration, I'm reminded that most of the other cups in the cup suit, they're uncovered. The cups are wide open. The Queen of Cups has her cup closed. You see that? She's got a cup. It looks like a huge cup, almost like a. I can't really describe what kind of cup this is. It just looks like it's got a lid on it. It's not something you can drink out of. What this means is not only is she not expressing her love, she's holding it back from being too overgiving in love. The thing with the Queen of Cups is that she is the one queen that will give her heart entirely to someone. And at the same time, she's also the most intuitive of all the queens. The intuition that the Empress draws upon, I feel, comes from the Queen of Pentacles, or excuse me, the Queen of Cups, and from the Queen of Wands exclusively. We'll get to the Queen of Pentacles in a second. I was getting ahead of myself there. But the Queen of Cups right here, that if you just take that energy by itself, she's very generous with her heart, her love. She's very passionate with regards to how she expresses empathy towards others. She can really relate to others on a very emotional and sentimental level. Again, more that energy of a very deep motherly figure with that you respect very heavily, someone that you can just have a shoulder to cry on top of an energy with the Queen of Cups. But also when coming into that energy of a divine masculine together with the Queen of Cups as the divine feminine, you get a very, very loving pair. It's like that energy that just feels perfect for that king kind of thing. That's the queen that will just completely support and love that king till eternity kind of thing. So I like seeing the Queen of Cups a lot. I feel that this is the energy of a lot of empathy, a lot of intuition, and a lot of, even though you have a closed cup, well, it doesn't mean you can't love others. It just means that you're being very meticulous, very strategic as well, very calculated to a certain degree about not opening up your heart right away as a Queen of Cups because you know how fragile or how sensitive you are to those energies. And that's why the Queen of Cups keeps her cup closed, the way that I interpret that. Now let's move on to the Queen of Pentacles finally, right? Now we're getting to the Queen of Pentacles. Now I usually associate the Queen of Pentacles exclusively with Taurus energy, but this could be also associated with any of the other signs. As a matter of fact, it doesn't really matter, how you associate it. Just feel the energy, folks. The way that I read energy is all about how it feels to you. The Queen of Pentacles is someone that's very generous, has an abundance of resources, is also very resourceful with the resources. Now resources doesn't have to be money. It can be. But, when it comes down to resources, it can be anything. It can be time, energy of any form. If, for example, you've built up a bakery, for example, and you have a bunch of extra, what comes to mind is some coffee shops around here at the end of the day, or donut shops around here. At the end of the day, they have so much surplus, they can't sell it the next day, so they either donate it or sell it off much cheaper in huge bags. And that's really kind of that resourcefulness. It's not putting anything to waste. That's kind of that feeling from the Queen of Pentacles, that she knows how to empathize with others, knows how to be very generous, knows how to share her resources, or in the form of business deals, is very generous with her business deals, doesn't really look at the bottom line, but rather how can she help others with her resources. That's that Queen of Pentacles feeling. All right, folks, that's what we have for the queens. Now, how about we move on now to our last energy in the Minor Arcana, which is the king. All right, folks, here we are, the last of the court cards. As a matter of fact, the last of the Minor Arcana. I thank you very much for joining on this journey. Let's talk about the king now. The king is meant to be the most abundant of all the other court cards. It can be a single energy, or he can be married to a queen. It doesn't really matter. Most of the kings are generally hooked up with the queen, but they can also be very, very independent. Now, the king energy usually is the one that sends off the messengers, like the page and the knight, to send off very specific messages, especially the King of Swords, for instance, that has a very specific message to deliver. These kings also refer to people that are very, very professional, very experienced with life. They can be very strategic. They can also be very emotionally reserved. This is all divine masculine energy. So it's all about the purpose which drives these different kings, whatever that purpose might be. And when I see the kings, I immediately think someone that's very, very mature, very centered, very professional, very accomplished with their experience. They can also come across as a teacher or an advisor in some regard. So how about we dive into the King of Wands? Now, the King of Wands I usually associate directly with the energy of Sagittarius or Leo, and this is someone that can be very, very impulsive, very moody, very direct. It's like when they say that they want something done, they want it right away, like yesterday. That's the type of energy we get from a king. And if it doesn't happen, my goodness, you can expect a temper tantrum or some sort of an energy of just being very, very moody from not accomplishing the energy, or from not accomplishing the task. Or even better, if they want to do something and they see that other people aren't getting it done, this is the type of king that will just go off and do it himself. If you ask this King of Wands about anything, they might be, instead of just explaining to you or assigning somebody to help you, this might be a type of king that can say, all right, I'll show you how it's done. And they will, no kidding, show you how a particular endeavor or situation should be handled. And they use that with, they're very action oriented. So they use that passion, that drive of being action oriented to just deliver whatever it is that they want to deliver on their own terms. Again, very impulsive. They don't necessarily rely on their messenger, their Knight of Wands. They know the Knight of Wands is very unreliable, so they just rather just deliver the message themselves as well. That could be also highly aspected with the King of Wands. Also, I want to draw another interesting, we mentioned with the Queen of Wands. If you watch that one, check out this guy's tunic. See how he's got a bunch of salamanders all over the place on his tunic, and that's to signify that protection from fire. So even though he's a fire element, he's still highly aspected as someone that will be also very cautious about how he invests his energy. He's impulsive and cautious at the same time, because he's got a lot of experience and he just doesn't want to get burned again, so to speak. So that's what I get for the energy of the King of Wands. Very strategic, very calculated, very maybe stubborn, but also very, very impulsive. So you never know what you're going to get with the King of Wands. It all depends really on the read, the way it's coming around, when you're reading for someone or for yourself. But now, how about we move on to the energy of the King of Swords? The King of Swords, again, very calculated, very cold, very methodical energy. This is someone that is very, very logical. someone you can have a very logical conversation with. Perhaps it's someone that just resonates very heavily with being very studious. It's someone that's actually been in battle because he's wielding a sword. And in some depictions of the King of Swords, there's also a shield somewhere around there. I also associate that sword just the same way as the Justice and the Queen of Swords. That sword he's holding is what I call the Ace of Swords, the Ace of Truth and Clarity. And this particular individual knows the answers to the questions because of all the experience, because of all the battle that they've been through, the different battles, different situations they've been through. They know exactly what it is they need to get the point across. They're also known to be very, very good public speakers. This is highly aspected with some Aquarius and Libra energy, maybe some Gemini in there too. But it can be any of those signs. But I don't associate just one sign like I do with the queens. Here I'm getting for the kings I get multiple signs. And Aquarius is one that comes to play very strongly with the King of Swords, because Aquarius is known to be a very social butterfly type of a feel. They're very eloquent with their words as well. And that's what I feel when it comes down to the energy of the King of Swords. Again, very strategic, very eloquent, very outspoken. Uh, when they say things, it's with a lot of intention. They know exactly what they're saying, and it comes across sometimes as very cold, but that's only because they're being very, very direct. That's all it is. Don't necessarily know very well or have the knowledge, right, of how to express their feelings. Again, they're in their logical mind. Imagine Spock from Star Trek. That's kind of how that feeling, where he's just all about the logic, is this King of Swords. Now let's move on to the King of Cups. I made a Star Trek reference, so I'm going to go more with the energy of Captain Kirk with this one. He's the one that has the feelings, has the empathy. The King of Cups is one that really feels the energy of others. He really feels his own feelings very, very well. This is someone that could be, if you look at the illustration down here, there's a lot of waves in the water down here. There's even a ship in the background. And this energy right here, he's not even phased by it. The king, even though he's got a lot of waves and it seems like his throne is being thrashed around in the waves as he's kind of floating on there, he doesn't give a hoot. He's not expressing any emotions or feelings. And that's the beauty of the King of Cups here, being very centered, very cool, calm, and collected energy with regards to how he expresses himself outwardly. He reserves his feeling for when it's time to finally express them to someone that's worthy, that someone will actually listen and feel that energy. That's why when I see the King of Cups and the Queen of Cups together, I see that as a beautiful match that's just full of really genuine love for each other. A match that's meant to last for a very, very long time is kind of how I see that. I also interpret the King of Cups as the energy of Scorpio almost exclusively, but it can also be Cancer or Pisces. Now let's move on to the energy of the King of Pentacles. Now, if you notice, the King of Pentacles is surrounded by a ton of grapes. This is probably the card that has the most grapes out of all the different cards. If you go back to the Ten of Pentacles, there's grapes in that one, right? But there's not as many as this robe right here. This particular individual is just flooded with all sorts of abundance, much more than the Queen of Pentacles. This is someone that's also very strategic, very calculated, knows exactly where to invest money, time, energy, and attention. I usually get the energy of someone that's also very, very serious with the energy of the King of Pentacles, also with the King of Swords. But the King of Pentacles is just someone that's very, very serious, very, very passionate towards building the empire, but about hiring employees, about growing the enterprise altogether. A very, very long-reaching, long-term commitment type of an energy comes in with the King of Pentacles. He's got a castle, whereas if you look at all the other kings, they don't really have much. This guy's adorned everywhere. Whereas if you look at the other kings, they don't seem to have a castle or anything like that. They're a little bit less adorned. They don't have as many decorations or resources as the King of Pentacles is clearly showing off here. And that's the other thing about the King of Pentacles. They might just be very, very showy as well. They're not really as they don't practice empathy and intuition like the Queen of Pentacles would. quite the contrary. This particular individual could be quite miserly, very, very selfish, and not really willing to share with anyone. Now, as far as the energies of the zodiac, we get a little bit of Capricorn usually with. I usually interpret it as Capricorn and Virgo, but if you look at the throne, it's surrounded by bulls. So this can certainly be the energy of Taurus, as a lot of other readers also interpret the King of Pentacles as the energy of Taurus. And well, with that, folks, that's the conclusion of the energies of the Minor Arcana and the King. And well, with that, we're going to move on to the last chapter, which is really just thank you, folks. Well, folks, I thank you so much for sticking around and watching the entire video. If you made it this far, I'm very, very extremely grateful that you participated in the class with me, that you've joined me on this energetic journey, that you've been tuned into Omega Tarot as part of your energetic journey. I'm very, very grateful. Now, what is it that you can do with this instruction? Well, easy. We have a Fool right here. It's time for you to now start a brand new beginning on a Fool's journey, perhaps in tarot. Apply this knowledge in the best sense. Keep the intentions clear and the energy fresh. And well, with that, folks, I'm very, very grateful to have you here. This is just meant to be a quick class. It's even though it's lasted a few hours, I have a much more in-depth class that I'm going to be charging for. That's going to go into much greater detail into all the different minutiae of all the different energies, all 78 cards, and I'm going to make that probably in the form of 78 individual videos to really dive deep into the intricacies of every energy. Right here, this was meant to be a little bit faster. It was meant to be more for YouTube and for folks that are just getting their feet wet in the energy. And well, that's really what it's about. We start somewhere on the Fool's Journey or on all the aces, right? We start somewhere and then build up and get more experience from that. And I invite you all to start today if you're curious enough. Take that leap of faith. Join us on this energetic journey if you haven't already, folks. And well, with that, I've been your very, very humble host on this class. My name is Gabriel, and I thank you so, so much for joining us today as you watched our instructional video, this wonderful timeless class, Tarot the Exodus, just for everyone out there for free for the community. This is my gift to the community. It's a small gift, and I'm very, very grateful that I can share this with all of you. I love you all out there in the tarot community. Thank you very much for being so inspirational. I'm very, very grateful to all of you and to everyone that supported the channel thus far. You're the best. I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much. We're going to just leave the class at that. We hope to see you again on the channel on more amazing reads for you. Thank you once again. Take care. Stay safe. Love and light to all. Take it easy, folks.